Good morning and welcome everyone to this week's episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, MrBooMStickXL, and man, do we have a show for you. The fall is heating up and the gaming news is happening faster than we can actually cover it. So thanks so much for being here, and let's get into the introductions so we can get into these amazing topics. First up, we have a community member that exemplifies what it means to be a fantastic person on and off social media. He's a chainsaw-cutting assassin, he's a huge Xbox fan, and we know for a fact he doesn't like scary games. Please welcome Zemi Games.
What's up, Boom? Thank you so much, man. I'm super excited to be here. 3 hours of sleep is all I got, but I'm here. I'm here. I don't know. I was watching YouTube up really late last night. I have bad habits, but I'm here. So thank you so much, Boom.
I definitely appreciate you being here as always. Next, we have a Borderlands Vault Hunter whose skills are legendary. He's the leader of the Sesh Empire, game share professional, die-hard gamer that will stop at nothing to destroy the Terra Twins in Borderlands 3, and someone who's not afraid to tell it like it is. Please welcome Empire Assassin himself, my very good friend Shady.
Hey, thanks, Boom. I'm so happy to be here, man. You got some great topics lined up. It's my last show for a couple weeks. I'm going under the knife after the weekend, if you will, so I'm looking forward to getting into it one last time. Like going a little bit of a sabbatical, if you will, but I'll be back before Halloween. Let's get into it, man.
Well, listen, it's great to have you here, as always. And, of course, we're going to wish you the best of luck. Obviously, you know, the quicker you can get back, the better that you're going to meet. That means that you're going to actually feel. And anytime you have any kind of surgery, it's always scary. But I have a good feeling that you are going to do very well. And, once again, thank you so much for being here. Next, we have a community favorite making his debut as a permanent Breakfast with Boom panel member, creator of the awesome BitCloud Gaming on YouTube. He's a diehard gamer obsessed with gaming and appreciates the great worlds, characters, and villains he meets in every game he plays. He's the host of the outstanding Real Gamer Talk podcast, co-host to the amazing Gamer Couch podcast, and permanent member of the Scumcast and hashtag Spectres. Please welcome BitCloud Gaming.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, and shout out to everybody that's already here. Do us a huge favor, hit that share button. Go ahead and hit that like button as well. Let's reach more like-minded gamers, and shout out to everybody that's already here again. And as well as Mr. Boom for the awesome invite to this show. I do appreciate it.
Well, listen, it's great to have you here, as always. Next, we have an old school gamer who refuses to go digital. He's a part-time stand-up comic, one of the raunchiest community members I know, creator of the outstanding Gaming After Dark with Primal Eve, and panel member to the Saltiest Game podcast. Please welcome Noof Nukem.
Boom, boom, kaboom. It's Noof in the room. I'm glad to be here. It is Friday. This is going to be a great show. It's one of the rare Fridays, dude, that I've actually had off. Most of the time, when I've been on this podcast, I usually kind of wrap it up and then get ready for work. So today, I've got plenty of time on my hands. At least it's time on my hands instead of other things.
So I love it.
All right, let's get right into it, brother.
Last and in no way least, he considers himself an avid gamer. He's one of the coolest nerds I know. He's been a longtime anime fan and can't get enough of huge comic book events that happen on a weekly basis, which actually he still enjoys, the print books. That's something to be said for you young school cats. He's a full-time panel member of the outstanding Smash podcast. Please welcome back to the Breakfast with Boom table, Super G.
What's going on, everybody? Oh, man, it's fantastic to be back, bro. I appreciate the invite. It's my pleasure to be here with this awesome panel. Let's get into these topics, man.
Nice. Well, great to have you here as always. Listen, we're going to get right into it. Breaking news, if you are a Cyberpunk 2077 fan. And, when you talk about this game, there's no doubt that this is going to be, it's already being spoken about as Game of the Year 2020, and we are months and months away from its release, right? We're still 3 months away from 2020, and it turns out that at every chance CD Projekt Red gets to talk about this game, they're putting more information out there. And you know what? As a fan of CD Projekt Red, this is amazing. So today's first story, we're going to be talking about the side quests. And apparently, if you enjoyed The Witcher 3, these are going to be as big, possibly bigger. And speaking in an interview at the official CD Projekt Red forums, senior quest designer Philip Weber said that similar to the side quests in The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077 side quests will interact with the main storyline to great extent. And here's what he had to say. Side quests can, of course, be completely separate stories, but they can also continue the story of a main quest or even set up a new branch in the main storyline. Before going on to give an example of what's happening with The Witcher 3, he says this. As an example, many people didn't even realize that by the time they were finishing the storyline in the Bloody Baron in Wild Hunt, they were already playing a side quest that continued the story thread from the main quest. The main quest was over once Geralt found information about Ciri, but the Baron story continued as a side quest. Now, all I can say is that I'm intrigued by this information, but also slightly frightened because Witcher 3 was so big. To me, it was overwhelming, and I never finished the game, and that's shame on me as a gamer. But I want to go to Zemi Games first on this. Zemi, when you hear how big this game has the potential to be, are you excited or do you feel slightly overwhelmed like myself?
I couldn't be more excited. Like, I mean, RPGs are my thing. I love them dearly. And so the bigger they are, the more gameplay they provide, the happier I'm going to be. And I think that this might be a little bit too much for some gamers to bite. It's a lot of content, you know. It's definitely, I mean, it's almost like a commitment. It's like you're getting married for like 2 weeks. You know, like it's a little bit too much. But I really, really like it. I like how the quest design is being implemented into this game, where side quests actually have an impact and go along with the grander scheme of like the main story. Like, this isn't a new thing. I mean, obviously The Witcher 3 did it. Assassin's Creed Odyssey kind of played with that a little bit. And then the recently released Greedfall also does that as well with their side quest, implementing it into like the main story and having callbacks and different characters and stuff like that. So I really, really like it. I really like how they're planning on doing their quest design. I love how big and massive this game is supposed to be. And I definitely, I'm pretty much in agreement with everyone that's saying that it's going to be Game of the Year 2020. I don't see how it cannot. I don't see what opposition it has that can stop this train, if you will. This game looks absolutely phenomenal, and I cannot wait to pick it up.
No, I agree, and I think it's going to be, again, I highly doubt, as great as Halo Infinite is, you know, expected to be, as great as The Last of Us 2 is expected to be, this is a behemoth. And I don't necessarily know if those two games or anything else that's unannounced could stop this from winning Game of the Year. And I know that we can't really say that, you can't until you actually play the game, but we have seen significant amounts of trailers and in-depth gameplay, and everyone you talk to that walks away seeing this is like, yep, this could possibly be Game of the Generation, very similar to when The Witcher 3 came out very early in the generation. But Shady, I want to go to you because, according to the article, Cyberpunk 2077 is, the quests are going to have a major impact on the main narrative. And how it plays out is really going to be entirely up to the player. And that seems like it's going to, this game could be one of those water cooler moments where, we're going to walk up to get a cup of water and you're going to tell me your story. And I'm like, wait, are you kidding me? That didn't happen when I did it. This is what happened. What are your thoughts on that?
Love this type of dynamic storytelling and gameplay where everyone that plays the campaign doesn't have the exact same experience, kind of like a movie. It's the same movie when we all see it. I like this type of stuff where you went left, I went right, and at the end of the day, we had a totally different way of getting to the end. I think we need to be careful when they say, like, some of these side quests are going to drastically alter the end game. I think that's the problem that Mass Effect got itself into, was a lot,
that's true.
and I mean a lot of fans thought that every decision you were making, no matter how big and how small, was going to truly create a unique. It's not like, it would be almost impossible to write something like that. We always end up in the same room fighting the same big boss, but I think the true differences that these games offer is the journey to get to that final room and that final boss is totally different for everybody. Did you save this character? Did you kill this person? Did you romance that character or not? Were you a good guy? Were you a dick? Did you blaze the main story, or did you stop and smell the roses and do a lot of side quests? Like, I think that's the true difference that these are offering. And the end, if you will, like, we might get a couple little references to what you were doing, but I'll bet you in this game, the end is going to be very similar for a lot of people. I can't promise that. I didn't beat Witcher, so I don't know. I know there's a lot of different endings in Witcher, but I'll bet you again that all your little choices aren't drastically and 100% uniquely altering the ending for just you. So I think we need to make sure that a lot of people understand this time. I don't want to see this game just get pounced on because someone gets to the end and they're just like, bullshit, this wasn't crafted just for me. And they're outraged. It's kind of like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's the journey that's going to be crafted for you and how you get there. And this looks from what we've seen. I mean, we've almost seen an hour and a half of footage. It's deep. That first full hour they showed was like all side content, except for pulling out the naked lady from the tub. That looked pretty mainline at the beginning, I think they said. After that, going and meeting with the agent in the alley and stuff was all side stuff, beyond what the choices you were making in that side stuff was. That's really, really cool. But at the same time, like, my brother, he's a total completionist and stuff, and it bugs him when games like this come out because he knows that when he goes left, he's going to miss what's on the right. There's no way to go back and do it. You can't 100% these types of games, and that kind of bugs him a little bit. And me too, to be honest. I can see where he's coming from. It's like, hey man, you got all this awesome content, but there's no way I'm going to get a chance to experience it because it's really so finely crafted that the way it is. But I'm really excited, man, from like the genre, if you will, the look, the aesthetic. I'm all over this game. I think it is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I mean, luckily it's coming sooner than later. My God, with all the games coming out this time of year, it blows by so fast. We're all, neck deep in the new hotness, which makes time blow by. And next thing you know, it's April and we're going to be playing this sucker. I think it's also going to be game of the year, at least my game of the year. That's all that really matters to me, is what game I'm looking forward to the most, not some Yahoo that works at Joe Blow site. So I'm excited for this game, man. I like what I'm hearing so far. There's very, very few things I think that they've been doing misstep wise that just don't jive with me, but nothing that has broken my the straw, my hype back, if you will. I'm still hyped.
Yeah, no, absolutely. BitCloud, I want to go to you, but I want to just read Doloman's comment, and actually, this is going to lead to your question. It says this game might be so big. He's saying he might have to stay away, as I'm going to be missing out on too many other games that could be great as well. When you think about the size of this, is he on to something that, obviously this is probably going to be one of those 35, 40-hour main story games where it can turn into easily double, triple that if you start going crazy with these side quests. Is that overwhelming to you in thought?
Not quite, because I figure we all kind of are used to that at this point. Because remember, we just played Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's
Red Dead
true.
Redemption 2 is a lot longer than 30 hours, pretty much, if you count everything, that you can do, such as hunting, such as doing all the requests, these stranger activities, and then the story. So, this game will be falling in between that line. As far as all the accolades going towards this game, though, the only thing that I really want, I'm happy for everything. I'm glad everybody's excited for it. What I want the game to be exactly what they're advertising it to be. And I want everything to legit be, everything that I'm being led to believe. Basically, I don't want nothing to be watered down. I don't want it to be led to believe to something, only for them to
So
remove
basically,
it.
you don't want like something like what Ubisoft has done in the past. They don't do it anymore, but if you remember when we saw Watch Dogs 1, they showed all of that amazing stuff, and then when the game officially came out, it was a little bit less than that.
You know, the thing is about that, yeah, Ubisoft did pull the wool over our eyes, especially with that Watch Dogs. But a lot of us failed to realize, the next gen consoles are around the corner. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna get something like that again. They always like to over exaggerate with tech demos of what you're supposedly going to get with the consoles, and then like you don't necessarily get that. So it's possible again that we could be going down that realm again, but you never truly know, until you see it.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's definitely true. I mean, obviously, listen. I will say this: CD Projekt Red. When you say that, and like we hang around with a lot of people in the community, right? It brings a smile to their face, right? Because they are definitely known as the community darlings in the development
The
world.
Witcher, like that's like the most that's instantly that comes to mind is Witcher when you hear CD Projekt Red, and every time somebody mentions Witcher, it's always a positive thing. It's a positive vibe. No one ever really goes, man, that was like the most overrated. Overrated never comes to mind when you hear Witcher. And that's just how good it is. Now, me personally, I haven't played The Witcher, but I can tell you right now, the Witcher soundtrack is pretty amazing.
It is. I was going to ask if we took the story out of the equation and you just ask someone, what about the Witcher gameplay, the moment to moment, second to second, hitting the buttons gameplay? Is it as amazing then as everyone says it is, or does it lose a little bit and it's the story that is propping this game up?
That's aggressive. You remove the story from The Witcher?
If you just didn't take the story into account, or just looking at Witcher as just a moment to moment RPG hack and slash game, is it still one of the greatest games of all time, or is it just a pretty good average playing game that happens to have one of the deepest, greatest stories ever told in gaming? Which one is it?
Well, the thing about this, right? We already established that this is a tag team sort of effort. They both go hand to hand. You need a good story for good storytelling, as well as the combat. You can't just go in blind with combat and just say that this game's going to be this strictly off of combat.
Well, let's say like a fighter. If a fighting game has insane combat, it doesn't need to have an insane story. Mortal Kombat nails a story. Most other fighters are just fighters, and that's what it needs to do good. I'm just wondering if The Witcher gameplay to people is as stellar as the story is to them. I think The Witcher to a lot of people is as amazing as it is because the storytelling was just so good and long and branching and had a lot of dynamic moments to it, and that's totally fine. But when I played the game, I just found it to be decent. Like it was certainly functional, but I would have liked it to be a tighter combat system. So I'm wondering if other people feel the same, and it's the story that props it up and makes up for its gameplay lacking. Like the horse was kind of janky and stuff like that.
I mean, it's definitely food. It's definitely food for thought. Yeah, definitely. But I got news for you. It's going to be very interesting to see what the final product is. BitCloud and any other thoughts you'd like to add, my friend?
No, I was going to add on to it. I was about to say, I don't know. Let me go to Resident Evil 2, for example. Do we need the story for Resident Evil 2 for it to be good?
No, probably not.
Well, I mean, that's like basically that's like saying, well, do you think Witcher 3 would be just as good if there was literally no sound?
Exactly.
I don't mean. I just mean like your opinion. Don't take the story out of the game. I don't mean take it out of the game.
Pixelated and we were playing with blocks and cubes.
That is true.
Not what I mean.
Like no,
it's not.
Like,
it's not what I mean.
I think what you get is a combination.
As good. It's all of the aspects brought together that make Witcher as good.
You know
as
what?
it
The
is.
Witcher has some very unique
gaming,
combat, bro.
In a weird way, gaming is basically art. It's a full combination of effects. In this particular case, that makes it into a masterpiece.
I agree.
You're gonna need everything.
I
need
absolutely
everything.
agree.
You need a good soundtrack. You need the good characters. You need the good story, and of course, you need a solid gameplay system. if you just take the major components such as the story and the everything else, and
And
you just
awesome
throw somebody
characters to
out
go
there in a
along with the
blind
story.
world,
Yes,
well,
yes, that's a great point.
there's a game you can play right now, right? Like that's like that. And I can tell you right now, you're gonna get bored hella quick. This is called what was it called? Superhuman, I think that's what it was called. Superhuman is a game that's on PC, and it's basically you playing. It's basically you playing a Superman. Like you're not
Yeah,
necessarily
I've seen it,
Superman,
but the gameplay mechanics look like trash. The graphics are nothing special. Like that's just some indie thing that's on its own. I think it's a terrible
I'm saying,
comparison.
like that particular game, keep in mind that game you might think is trash now, but to a AAA developer right now, that right there could be a benchmark for a Superman game,
Yes.
a better Superman game, mind you. Remember, this is just half effort, and this was made by 4 people. There is really no story in the game whatsoever, aside from just some minions, a few time trials you can do, and some destruction. That's about it. But keep in mind that that's basically, the mirror. You're going in off of this gameplay. There's no story. You need both here for that game to be interesting, and that's what the point is.
Yeah.
It's
You
like
need more than
my
just gameplay.
best example for me would be Mass Effect. The game is functional. It's decent. It plays all right, but it's not even close to being the best third-person shooter. It's not, and it's not the deepest RPG. So like its play mechanics are decent, but it was the lore and the story and the graphics that made up for that and made it an amazing game for me. But if I don't take into account the story and just judge it on its gameplay, I have to say it's average.
Yeah, it makes sense.
My opinion with Witcher is the game average gameplay wise, but stellar story wise. So it comes out to be amazing. I'm just wondering what it is that people love so much about The Witcher.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the story, but
It's a total package.
Agreed.
That's
Yeah.
why
So
we
true.
review games
It's
with
like Resident
everything.
Evil 2.
We
Like,
review
it's that
games on
total
everything, not just the gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it. Look, I put it to this way: the game is beloved. It's still, as it stands right now, the game of the generation, regardless of what you think about Red Dead 2 or Resident Evil 2 or whatever else. The only thing that's going to dethrone it, in my opinion, is going to be its own creators with Cyberpunk. But Super
Like greed,
G.
corporate greed. Will be
Well.
downfall of it. There you go, corporate greed. They didn't say that. It's corporate greed because that's basically what's really
hopefully corporate greed stays out of gameplay. But Super G, I want to go to you on this because during this interview they said a lot of things about they really dug their heels in when talking about the side quests, because with CD Projekt Red as a developer, the side quests are as important as the main story. And I think because this is being done in a first-person view, I think the gameplay is going to be amazing. Because the Witcher's gameplay, like everyone was suggesting, and some people say otherwise, like their menu system, I thought was over the top complicated. Even to make a potion was a pain in the ass, and I disliked it. I disliked it for that. But in your opinion, when you hear the emphasis on the side quests, because they're really, like I said, they're really digging their heels in with that. Do you think that the game could possibly, for you as a gamer, be overwhelming, or are you excited that there are going to be stories that you're going to experience that others may not?
Man, I'm stoked about it. I love The Witcher. The Witcher 3 right now still stands as like you say, the game of the generation, even for me. I thought The Witcher 3 was fantastic. The combat system was a little weird, but like I like the way you had to go into combat, and you would need different strategies for different beasts. Like if you put the wrong tonic like on your weapon, and you went into the battle to fight the specific beast that's not weak against that tonic, you were screwed. You had to like prepare accordingly for each monster, each combat, each moment of the game. And just the news that's coming out about the side quest, man, I'm just like I can't wait, but at the same time, like my life isn't ready for it, because like Witcher 3 consumed so many hours, man.
My life is not ready for this guy. I love that. It's a great quote.
Like this is my life, bro. Like with work and then like relationship, man. You don't know what I went through with The Witcher, man. Like long nights, long mornings, like just staying up. My significant other, like, what are you doing? And then she getting caught up into the game because of the story, like. It's bittersweet, but like, man, I just can't wait for it. I'm like I said, I'm stoked, man.
Yeah,
but I do agree. I do agree with the panel, like about everything you guys said, especially Shady about like different combat. Just like would it stand because of the combat and stuff like that. I get it. Where the combat is difficult, or just like very different from anything else. Because like I said, I mean, you have two swords. You know, you have the sword that is only for beasts and you know the mythical creatures, and then you have the stuff that's just for humans and whatnot. So it can be a little daring, you know, but I mean, I loved it.
Well, listen. Again, for me, I found the game and I like this. I love games that are open world, and I love the ability to go off the beaten path to find hidden things. But like I was saying earlier, one of the things that annoyed me about The Witcher 3 was the menu system for me was way overcomplicated.
Have you tried it lately?
No, I haven't.
They've actually did updates where like the potion system is very similar to what it was, but it's a little bit more easier now because now it has to where like you can actually like I believe it's push the X button and it'll highlight like everything you need to create the potion.
Oh yeah, see that's better. Okay.
Instead of like you have to go and read every little like item you need to create that potion, now you can just highlight it, and then when you go to a store, it highlights in the store what you need exactly, and you could buy it.
Okay.
And then it could craft it itself on the side. So that was a feature that they did kind of, I guess, work on and fix for people that were having problems with it, because that was something that was like big in the community when it came to that game. But I mean, like, you should give it another go, man. I mean,
you know what? I will, because it supposedly looks amazing on the X.
It's a fantastic game.
Yes.
But for me, man, like I don't know, dude. Like I'm OCD with those games, because like if like once I start like venturing out and I start seeing the map like open itself up, and then all these little like exploration marks popping up and this and that, like I'm just like, oh my goodness, and I have to go to every single thing, so I get so derailed away from the main story that it's crazy. So that's why, like, man. I still play The Witcher 3 till now.
And that when you go like make one decision, it possibly closes doors elsewhere in the game that you don't get to see that content because you talk to a person a certain way or you missed a side quest or you did one. Does that upset you? You're like, no, I don't get to see it now.
Yeah, dude, I'm constantly saving the game. And like when I know something like that happens, I'll try to like go back.
You'll backtrack.
Yeah,
the wizard with your time machine. Nice.
Yeah, I create like a separate little path and go that way, so I can see both. Because I'm very interested in stories and I get locked in like that, man. And it sucks about like I feel like for me it sucks to me that I'm that way because I don't I suck in the game too much, man. I dive into it. It's one of those things that I hate about myself.
Listen. You know what? The best way to fix a problem is to know that there is one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And but listen, that's a great point. Nukem, I want to get your final point on this, because when you talk about the pricing, right? You're gonna say some $60 titles garners the player 12 hours through on a single player, right? Or 14 hours, or even 20 hours, and someone will walk away and make, you know what? That was a pretty good $60 that I spent. I enjoyed the game. Graphically, it's beautiful story, whatever. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 seems to check all the boxes. Gorgeous graphics, intriguing story, gameplay that's going to be new and interesting. Side quests and main quests for days. Are you excited for this game? Not just because it's only a $60 title, and you're gonna probably get $200 worth of play, but the size of the game that's being talked about on a regular basis from the developers. Does that excite you as a gamer?
Well, let me warn you first, guys. I think I must have slept on the grumpy stump last night. But look, I like sci-fi better than I like medieval stuff.
Okay.
I'm with you. I'm with you,
First of all, I like sci-fi. I've always been more intrigued with that setting. So right off the get-go, Cyberpunk has me far more interested and invested already in its world than I probably ever would be in The Witcher. I'm not a really big fan of The Witcher. To me personally, I think it's one of the most overrated games of this gen. Shoot me if you will. I tried playing it several times, could never really get into it. To me, Geralt is about as fucking dry as sandpaper. Hey, you guys, have you seen Suri? I gotta find her. I don't know. I just don't find him a great character. To be quite honest, it's fucking like Clint Eastwood went off the rails somewhere along the lines, and I I don't know, man. Like just I'm not saying it's a bad game, okay? So don't shoot me here. I'm not saying it's a bad game. To me, it's just one of my personally overrated games. Some people love it. I get it why. It's way too long. I find the Witcher, the control scheme is way too convoluted. I don't need a recipe book and a physics manual to try to figure shit out when I'm playing a game. I just want to get in there and kick the shit out of stuff. This is why Gears has always been my favorite franchise. And no bullshit, no fucking RPG systems, no leveling up bullshit. Just you get in, you shoot, you kick some ass, you have some fun. I want to get in and out, right? That's my lifestyle. That's the way I play games now. I don't have time to invest in, and then this might be true of Cyberpunk. I said this a couple weeks back. I said all these open world games now with these 40, 50 hour, 60-hour campaigns and shit, I don't have time for it. I'm finding more and more I start them and never complete them because I get fucking bored along the way. There's too many side quests and I get distracted too easily, and then I want to go over here and I want to go over there, and then I realize I'm not really getting anywhere, that sort of shit. So that is just me. I like a game that's 20 fucking hours of nonstop action. I want it boom, 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 in and out of the room. That's how I roll. That is the kind of shit that I'm into. I don't have the lifestyle anymore to have this is why Game Pass does not appeal to me. I keep telling you people, what's the point in having fucking 3,000 fucking games if I can only play one or two? Like, this is why I don't care. I go out and buy the games I really want, so I don't need the extra games. I don't care how cheap it is to me. You know what I mean? I could buy all the cheap pussy I want it next week too. I only got time to fuck one. So you know what I mean?
But it's $1, bro. It's just $1.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here, but I just wanted to say it's a cool game. I'll get back on track. And Cyberpunk, I'm definitely excited for it. I do want to play it. It looks awesome. I'm excited to see the world. The graphics look amazing. Like I said, and I'm glad that it's a tailored experience that will vary and differ for different people. Yeah, man, that's all I'm going to say.
Well, listen, that this is look. You can't argue with that. You know, your opinion is your opinion, and obviously you vote with your dollar. And if something doesn't, is not up your alley, then of course it'd be terrible to buy it. Real quick before we move on to the next topic, though, and it's going to be a good one. I have to thank Elemental P with the outstanding and extremely generous $10 super chat. He says, "Good morning, gamers and panel. Should open world games try to close off some of their world until the main story is beaten, almost like an incentive?" For getting into the world and beating the game. That's actually a really interesting point, but I think that you would be you'd be handcuffing the player, because you would, because some people are OCD, like a few of the panel members were saying, when it comes to doing these games, and like
this guy.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, like in a particular area, like when I'm playing Gears. Right, the Gears 5 is the game that the way the game is what I've always wanted in Gears, and I won't leave an area until I have literally gone to every corner, nook and cranny checked, and I will go back around and I'll keep going back and forth the menu to see. Like when I finished the game, I finished it with 83.6% of the collectibles, and I really looked for them, and I was so pissed. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play this game again because I want to, because I definitely started up a second run. It was that good, but I'm like, my God, where was this stuff? So I think that even though it might be a good idea on paper, I don't necessarily know if it would turn out well. Like, some gamers might revolt because they don't want to have to be forced to finish a game to get to area A in the beginning. If you know what I mean. But real quick,
I'm surprised. I think they'll go for it. Remember God of War, when you beat the game, you get that special ending.
Yes.
When you go to the house. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I certainly do. Yes.
So if it's something like that, I think they will be happy for it, because that at least shows that it was even more worth it, because you got some more context to what you did. Yeah. So that's good. But not all games are going to do that. Obviously.
I think it also kind of depends on the game as well, because Grand Theft Auto back in the day used to do that with the bridges being cut off from other sections of the map. So I think it just kind of depends on like the way that the game is designed and how that cutoff point is implemented.
They did do it for GTA 5 too. Remember when the aliens?
Yeah.
Yes.
The flying saucers show up. You can connect the saucers for that.
Yeah.
They do give you some developers do that. They give you a little extra incentive to go out there and 110% the world. I'm a trophy hunter by default, so I go for a lot of these platinums and go for them. So
yeah. But like Vice City and San Andreas, like back on like the PlayStation 2, like sections of the maps, were cut off, like the bridges were blown up or whatever, so you couldn't get to the later open world stages.
And if you tried to swim across, you either drown or you immediately get like 5-star wanted. Immediately over there. So yeah.
Well, listen, like I said, I appreciate the question, LMNOP. Thank you so much for being here. And, of course, the generosity. And thanks for the panel for answering the question. It was a really good one. Thought-provoking, which is what we like on this show. But I have to talk about Death Stranding in topic number 2. And once again, Hideo Kojima addresses the complaint that some people are calling this a walking simulator, and in doing so has once again confused the media and gamers alike. Now, for the gamers at large that are looking forward to this game, gameplay, story, and just about everything revealed so far by Kojima's upcoming video game as known as Death Stranding has been a bit confusing, to say the least. Now, there's been a lot revealed, and there's been trailer after trailer, and I actually didn't even have this in the show notes, and I'm going to start off with this. He said publicly that the game doesn't get enjoyable to play until halfway through. Those are his words. And, what's concerning and being discussed by most of the gaming community is at every attempt Kojima is trying to explain this game, he makes matters worse or more complex for us to understand. And, some people say, he's trolling us. He's trolling the community to get you interested in his game. But Game Informer sat down with him and asked Kojima what makes mundane maintenance tasks fun and making the strange somewhat interesting. That's what they asked him. And this is what the creator of the very popular Metal Gear Solid franchise got a chance to talk about. He says this: in the past, even if games are open world, there are limitations where you can't go further. Like they created valleys where you can't go, but in this game, you can go anywhere. You set routes. And you want to know what goes on beyond those routes. In the game, I think you'll understand if this is actually happening. What I realized is when I monitor playtests, even the staffs, they don't get it at first. But when they really start playing, just walking is really fun in the space. And this is, listen, folks, I am reading verbatim from what Game Informer had to say, and I'm confused reading it. So I'm going to read the second quote, and then I'm going to go right into the panel. He says, and now everyone will say, oh, it's a walking simulator. It's the same as when I brought out a stealth game. If 100 people played it and 100 people say it's fun, it means the genre or the game already exists. But this is a new genre. Same as stealth the first time. There will be people who don't get it, and I will take time for the reveal to make sure that they do. Okay.
It's a mess.
You know what? I'll go to Shady first on this because, Shady, you've been very vocal about Kojima as a developer. You've been very vocal about how this game is not going to hit like everyone is suggesting that it might. Based on what I just read, and folks, I want you to understand, I'm reading verbatim, okay? Now, I might have changed a word or two to try and make it more understandable for talk radio, but that is it. This is what he said. Shady, does this sound like he's trying to explain something that he himself doesn't understand?
Does, namely the this being a new genre.
A Stranding's genre, by the way.
Ridiculous. In the gameplay, there was honestly like press circle to initiate strand. That's the genre. Like connecting, I understand you get to a valley, you don't have a big enough ladder to climb across it. You have to wait for someone out in the real world to, I don't know, leave some ladder pieces willy-nilly so you can pick them up. And if they don't, you're not going over. That's not new. Other games have done this already. In Dark Souls, for God's sakes, you can leave potions and tips and everything else for other players to come across and use for their benefit. Or you can, troll people like, oh, yeah, it's all good. There's a health potion around the corner, and it's a big bad boss that just chops them. Like, this has been done before where you can lightly assist other players and whatnot. it's not even a game to me anymore. This is an experience. He's come out and said straight up he has a very easy mode for the American gamer, you know, because
That's
all
for
the
developers,
Japanese and
that's Java
yeah, all the
developers.
hey, well, all the what do you call it, Japanese and Korean developers and players, they're just born gamers. It's those terrible Americans and the celebrities that he's working with that they can't play it. So he has a very easy mode. What do you think that means? It means it's probably going to play itself and just tell you the story. But his last comments were, there's almost no story going on for the beginning. You just mill around, wander around, and it's not really fun until about halfway through. Line up, everybody. Get in line. We got something for sale over here with Kojima on the box. That's all it is now at this point.
Oh my God, this is out of control.
The guy used to do awesome stuff for some. They loved his back work, and they'll just gobble up anything that the man does. I think this is a disaster. It's not looking good. And I love sci-fi. I love out there, crazy sci-fi. But this is coming off as completely nonsensical. The moment-to-moment actual gameplay looks stiff, janky, and beyond boring for me. And I just don't see it, man. I don't think the story is going to save this game at all, especially when it's not even coming in until halfway through your experience.
You can clearly see
I don't
the
know, man.
inspiration for the gameplay for this stuff.
I'm totally with you, Shady.
into it. Yeah, if people are into it, that's
what
cool. I don't want to take anything away from them. They can get into it, but I'm not going to prop up this experience at all anymore. I'm done talking crap about it. It is not for me at all. I was interested for about a year because of the story, and the graphics are beautiful, and I'm a sci-fi guy, but it's gone downhill big time, man. It does not look fun, engaging.
And he came out and said he don't even know what it's about, so that's already bad.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the fact that the developer, the mind behind it said he don't know what it's about. Anytime the mind behind something says they don't know what their work is about, that's just an L, just like off jump, bro. Like how could you expect us to get into it if you don't know what it's about?
You think about it, G? Is it really a no? I mean, you kind of think about it. This is
that's like a director of a movie saying, I don't know what it's about, but I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah. It's like that. He's known for throwing subliminals. He's known for throwing out shock value comments to get you to talk about the game, so to speak.
And I mean, to some dude, I'm gonna say to me, he's overrated. Like he really is. Like I mean, he earned a lot of his merits from like you say, previous work. But this previous work is like 15 years ago. Because I mean, Phantom Pain, Ground Zeroes, that wasn't it. Like no, like even Metal Gear Solid 4 to an extent wasn't it. His last great work to me was Snake Eater. Snake Eater was fantastic. That game blew my mind at the time. Yeah, I played 4. I played 4.
You say Snake Eater over 4?
Yes,
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
I take Snake Eater over 4.
Miyamoto towers over Kojima. Miyamoto made some of the most brilliant games and got millions and millions of people into gaming. Kojima may tell a weird, twisted story that some people are into. He's got some neat game mechanics, but for me, Miyamoto towers over the man as a legend from that part of the world.
Well, listen, I'm going to say this. You know, this is where the song "Going Off the Rails" and the Crazy Train from Ozzy Osbourne seems to be playing through my head every time I see something. Super G, I want to go to you real quick because you had a lot to say already, and I'm interested to find out. You know, this game is when this game was originally announced, I take nothing away from graphically. It looks amazing. The movies that we're watching are what you would expect in a Kojima title, right? They're very detailed, very graphically intense, gorgeous to look at. But that gameplay, wow, is so terrible looking. Every time he shows it off, it gets worse. Is this a day one purchase for you because it's a Kojima game, or is this something you're going to walk away from?
Man, I have no idea right now, dude. Like, I've never been so confused about a purchase. Like, I look at something, I'm like, okay, I got it. You know, I'll pre-order right then and there, whether it be on the console or Amazon or something. I'll pre-order it. But this game, I'm so hesitant with it. Like, I really am. Like, I look at, like you said, like in the beginning, I looked at it and I was so enamored. Like, oh man, what is this? This looks so dope. Just looking at it, it looks dope. But then, like, all this combat, and it seems like the more stuff we see, the more like I'm turning away from it. Yeah. And it's not because I don't know exactly what's going on, but I don't know what the hell's going on. You know, even with the combat, you know, like even with the combat, I don't even know what kind of combat that is, bro.
Well, like, I know he swings briefcases at people.
Right, and he's like, I seen a guy running around, staggering all over the place. That's what it looks like, because the animation looks horrible.
Well, they said you have to hold the triggers a certain way for him to walk. Otherwise, he falls over with all the packages he's carrying.
It's like a bounce.
What are we doing? What is this like?
Riveting.
What is it? walking Jenga?
Walking
or what?
Jenga?
Like, oh my
That's
god.
great, a walking Jenga.
What the hell what are we doing? Like,
Oh my God!
I mean,
remember,
the
folks, you
graphic
heard that
looks
first. If there's
fantastic.
a new genre, walking Jenga, these guys coined it on this show.
Don't your shoes wear out? And there's like
Oh.
foot rubbing mini games to rub out your
Oh.
blisters and shit. Like, no, hell no. This is
Hold
bad.
on. I gotta piss by this rock before I get my balance back.
Well,
Like,
you can
come
you
on,
make
like,
the you make the pee and poop bombs in the bathroom.
Oh my!
Oh,
I
baby.
don't. Which we can do without.
Which
but,
kind of remind me of
I-
South Park immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know. I've never been so confused. Like, I mean, like people talked about Gears. Oh, lack there of trailers and lack there of gameplay or whatever. But we knew what the hell Gears is. We knew what we were getting ourselves into, whether we seen the trailer or the campaign or not. We knew what it was going to play like, right? Like, it's a Gears game. But this game, since he's all talking about like new genre and all that, man, I don't know, dude. I have no freaking clue, man. None at all. I don't even know if I'm purchasing anymore.
Yeah,
I'm still very interested in see further. And then the fact that, like you say, it's not going to get fun for the first half of the game or whatever. Yo, like, do you not know that people nowadays have like an attention span of a damn ant? Like, if it's not hot right away, we're most likely not standing to it. Because think about, like, you go to a movie and the first half of the movie is shit. Aren't you going to walk out and go back and ask for your money back or go to see a different movie? I've done that. Like, I've walked into movies and I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo, this movie is not cutting it right now. I get up,
Yeah.
I go to the little freaking booth, ask them like, yo, can I see something else or give my money back?
This isn't fun.
And they let me go
Could you
watch
imagine
something.
the director of a Hollywood movie coming out before the movie's out and
that's
being
what I'm
like, yo, the
saying.
first half of the movie's boring. There's nothing going on, but
Dude.
halfway through the movie, it gets
And
pretty
I'm
decent.
telling
Trust me.
you,
Could you
I'm telling
imagine
you,
that?
that's not gonna go well with new age gamers either.
No.
Bro. Their attention span is short. They like to jump. That's why they like Fortnite too so much.
Exactly.
They can jump in
You
the game.
yes. You
They
jump
can
off the
right-
you
not-
jump
not
off the
only
flying
is
bus
free-
and you're playing. Yes.
For
Yeah,
the
it's
first
not
40
only that it's
minutes of the
free.
new Rambo, he just sharpens his knife.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Like, not only is that the game is free to jump into, but it's like fast paced and you're there. You can get if you only got an hour to game, you can get like 50 games of that game in. You know, if you suck, but like still, you can still get so many games in and be happy. But if this game you actually have to like sit down, play 15 hours of it before it actually gets good, I'm out. I'm out, Jack.
No,
I'm
absolutely. That's actually a really great point. You know, Noof Nukem. Before I get to your opinion on this, I have to thank two people. First of all, LMNOP was an additional $2 super chat. Thank you so much for that. He says, "Why didn't Kojima make an MMO?" Well, you know what? The way this game is turning out, it actually might be there. And Scrub Nurse, who's also a channel supporter, and always in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. And he drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat. He said, "So glad I didn't pre-order. The more I see of this game and the write-ups, the more I am more disappointed. This is some of off-the-chart foolery." Hashtag Konami was right. Great panel and keep up the
It
great
started
work.
looking like that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Absolutely. And of course, Thanaros with the addition or with a $5 super chat. Thanks so much for being here, dude. Really appreciate that. He says, "So when we finally get something fresh, we diss it, and when we get some more of the same, we complain." Gamers in a nutshell. Yeah. I you know what? I understand what you're talking about, but this.
That's
you know,
hogwash.
This is a little bit.
That ain't it.
This
right.
is this. I don't think this actually qualifies as that, because I'll agree with you. Gamers are complainers. There's no doubt about it. We even when we have our cake and eat it too, we're still complaining one way or another. But this
Right.
is a little different. Now, Noof Nukem.
You telling me I'm not gonna have fun for the first half of it? I'm out.
Yes.
Still stuck on that.
Yeah.
Like,
No doubt
sorry.
about that for sure.
Like New said, our time is precious. As adults, your time is precious. You don't get boom, you're retired now, so you have more time than most of us. But dude, like for me, I work. I work 2 jobs, and you think I have, the little bit of time I have, my day off, I really want to spend it trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's
When
actually
you're
that's
retired,
a
we only live so long, man. We don't want to be wasting time on this planet
Right.
playing.
And then along with that, think about all the other games that's coming out around that game. You got the Star Wars coming out, the new Call of Duty. Like no.
Yeah, no. That's actually a really great point. You know what? I kind of want to just move that point over to Noof Nukem, because you and Super G agree that time is precious. And when Noof, as a gamer, as someone that only has limited time, when you hear the director come out and say, "Hey, listen, folks, just giving you the FYI, halfway through the game, it's not going to get good until you're at the 52% mark," does that immediately, for you, as someone that does have limited time, be like, "You know what? I think I'm going to pass until this is $20"?
Well, the whole thing baffles me, right? I mean, Kojima, I'll give him what it is. I mean, he has made some pretty good games in the past. I don't know why he's revered the way he is. I mean, there's another Japanese developer who made several amazing Ninja Gaiden games by the name of Itagaki. And I don't see him up on a pedestal, and I don't see his name slapped all over box cases and him making some weird statements about his games. You know what I mean? So I don't know where he gets it. And of course, it doesn't help that he's, buddy buddy with Jeff Keighley, who's giving this
Oh.
guy ample spotlight every second he gets. It's like, the game's going to find more success than it would otherwise because he's pushing it so hard. And I guarantee you, this year's Game Awards, that shit's going to be everywhere. Expect
Definitely a
some
lot of
walking
promotion,
fetuses coming out in the jar. Yeah, lots of promotion. Like I don't know, like
I mean,
pretty
he's in
sure
the
when you're
damn game.
pitching these games to the people that have to financially back it, I like to sit down in the boardroom at some of these places because I'm pretty sure if I walked in and said, "Yeah, I need several $1 million of your money. We're going to make this game. I need to hire all these guys for my studio to build it." I really don't even know what it's about, to be honest with you. It's a bunch of my weird ideas I had while I was having some funky ass dreams in the nighttime, and I put them on paper and I bring them to the boardroom. We're going to try to build it and see if any of it makes sense. And and on top of that, the game's going to be boring for probably your first half of your playthrough. So if you stick with it, great. And if you don't, I mean, to anyone, does this even sound like sane rationale in today's gaming world? Like it just blows my mind, you know?
By the way, this is Kojima, and they just signed the check.
Yeah.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. I do want the game to be successful. I never wish any game,
Of course not. Yes,
to
absolutely.
be unsuccessful just because of a fanboy say motive. Oh, I hope Death Stranding fucking tanks. Never. Because honestly, I want studios to stay and work. I want to see great games. And obviously, there is talent behind some of his madness there. The graphic engine alone, the Decima engine, is looking phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
He's
no
got a
doubt.
great cast behind it. I mean, he's got involvement of Guillermo del Toro, but
Which I
that's
love
kind
his
of it. And
movies.
I think somebody said this in the past that Kojima is a video game developer, a producer, and director of his games that really is itching to be a movie director more than anything.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. Yeah.
People said
Yeah,
this in the
Netflix
past, and I
segment.
totally agree because his games start to feel more like bizarre ass movies that you'd find in some obscure place on Netflix somewhere.
Hey,
Then
Newt,
they make games.
did you play the did you play the Phantom Pain? Because I mean, every time you beat a chapter, the trailers roll like you're watching a damn show.
Absolutely, I
I was
have
just like,
Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
yeah. So I mean,
Like I
that
said,
backs up even more that statement.
I
You
am
know?
probably going to buy Death Stranding. The only thing I haven't really figured out yet is if I want to pay, the 80 smackers Canadian to get this. I have a funny feeling if you wait about 3 or 4 weeks or maybe a month,
This will be $30 title for sure.
yeah, this will be
Yeah.
marked down real quick because as far as what I'm gauging from people I've talked to, don't seem like the pre-order numbers are overly high. Obviously, it's hard to tell with a lot of digitals being made these days too. But like I said, I'm hoping for the best. I'm still baffled. I'm still out to lunch like most people are with this game. So as you'd be thinking, the more you'd see of something, the more you'd be like, okay, this is gripping me. But it kind of feels like this is the first game in history it's gone the opposite way. Like the more they're
Right.
showing, we're all going, huh? You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I don't know what to even say anymore in this. I wish the game well. I hope people at least give it a chance and try it. And then, of course, you play it and you're like, man, this shit sucks balls. Then it sucks balls for you, I guess. But we'll see how it goes, and we're only a few months away.
No doubt about that. Now, BitCloud, I want to go to you next on this because, I'm not the only one that finds the entire lead up to Death Stranding's release outrageous at the least and preposterous at best. And what are your takes on his recent? I don't want to say it's a rant because he was being interviewed, but his recent comments. Are you like many, or even are you more confused by what he's trying to sell, or are you more intrigued?
Well, let's be real. We all been confused since the first show of it, which was, with Norman Reedus and the damn baby. Everybody was like, okay, what the hell was that? But it looks good. A lot of us really wanted the PT game. That's been the main thing everybody's been asking for. And sadly, that did not happen. So we got Death Stranding. Ever since we saw the gameplay, you know what I'm getting vibes, like the vibes I get from it? It kind of reminds you of that movie with Tom Hanks, Castaway. I remember that.
Yeah.
It's got a lot in common with Castaway. Like, he's stranded. Exactly. He's using stuff to get to point A to point B. It has a lot of elements like that. As far as everything else concerns the game, right? Kojima is known for going over the top, and you guys see this even with Phantom Pain. You remember when she jumps out the helicopter and starts dancing in the rain? It just was so unnecessary. You didn't need to have that. That's classic Kojima, humor and the way he goes about it. Even with him, with the way you go of like going after the enemies and whatnot. This is classic Kojima. It has a lot in common with Metal Gear Solid 4, I noticed too, the way you throw grenades and whatnot. It's got that type of slow combat, so to speak. And I don't know if the game will more than likely win Game of the Year. It could. Again, you don't really know, right? We don't know how good the game's going to be. We can't really say like everything's set in stone. When the gameplay usually speaks for itself, the game will speak for itself. But it's going to get it's definitely going to get a lot of marketing at the Game Awards. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's oblivion.
It's going to be highly marketed because of his connection with Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley's obviously in the game, and like I said, I think just based on that, if it wins, there's going to be some real shenanigans, especially if he's in the game and he's running the awards. I understand that Jeff Keighley himself doesn't vote. I've heard that 1,000 times, but he's running the show. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
I'm sorry.
And you can clearly see the favorites.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
In the whole thing, like just like last year, like you can't tell me that Red Dead 2 was not favored in terms of the presentation for a lot of the stuff that was there.
Yes.
Oh, dude, on that, I don't see how Red Dead run all the awards it won and then not win Game of the Year. It won like best like story, best this, best that. Like it
won like
best
actor, best soundtrack,
but didn't
best,
win game.
animation.
That makes no sense.
The best everything, but not the best overall.
It makes sense for
Right.
a lot of reasons. Like for example, I get it. It's one of those games that because multiplayer, it was a big multiplayer, and everybody was just on board for Red Dead 2. The anticipation was there. Obviously, if you play Red Dead 2, I don't know if you did, but a lot of people said Red Dead 2 was boring in certain aspects until you get to the epilogue towards the end and whatnot, like after you beat it. So, it was one of those type of games. God of War, though, I don't know. I don't know if it was worth to beat God of War. It was tough. It was tough to choose.
Well, I put it to this way, dude. It's going to be certainly interesting to say, to see which way it goes. Because remember, the game has to still come out and it still has to score. And I don't think it's going to score as high as a lot of people think. But
okay. Let me say this really quick.
Let me say this really quick, though. Right, yeah, I said Kojima gets a blank check. Like I just say, hey, here's a check. Do what you want. I'm pretty sure Kojima was brought on board for more than just this game, though. Like, remember, he immediately, before he got work on the game, he immediately tweaked the Decim engine.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there was more to what he was doing. Let's be real here. When you compare this Death Stranding to Horizon Zero Dawn, do you really see do you think that's the same engine that they're running that game on? When you look at those two games,
Horizon looks like it plays way better.
Looks like a completely different thing, right? It looks like a completely different thing.
especially with the facial animations of the characters, because Horizon's facial animation was horrible. Those characters looked horrible. Like when they talked, the mouth didn't meet up with what was coming out.
Oh yeah,
it lip sync. Weird.
Yeah,
it just looked weird. But let me ask you a question before we go more sideways. Yo, now that you say that about Red Dead and God of War comparison, as for like which one won Game of the Year and whatnot, because of the pacing and everything about Red Dead, what was said about it. Now, you say that. Listen to what we just heard about Death Stranding's pacing and everything like that. And we're saying Game of the Year. How does that match up with, say, Gears of War? Because that's kind of the same when you look at it. Gears of War is in this position is, say, the God of War.
Yeah, this one they went the more heavy story, like not necessarily laid back, but they went the slower.
Action based,
Yeah, it's more like an action.
Death Stranding's like the slow burn, right? That will put you in the same field as
Death Stranding's definitely
Red Dead,
a slow
right?
burner because it's definitely a slow burner because you have to do so much in terms of like the open world aspect, like deliver packages from here to here. And they made that clearly obvious, right? When you're at the little drop-off points, there are numerous drop-off points with different orders that you have to drop, to those particular things. So they definitely did do that. And they say, you gotta be, careful because the baby gets aggravated. Obviously you're vulnerable to whatever is on the other side, those things. So it really is. It's definitely one of those games you got to look at from that aspect for sure. it's going to be a lot of walking, and they're definitely going to have to. I would have to say they're going to have a lot of filler to make up for some of this walking that you're doing here.
No, I don't.
Well,
Listen,
that,
I
and
don't
that's
necessarily.
my point. Whenever
Yeah.
I was trying to say what I was saying, because I mean, people complain about Red Dead being slow and being this,
Mhm.
and then that's what led to God of War eventually beating it for Game of the Year. But if Red Dead is slow, then what the hell are we doing over here with with Death Stranding?
Yeah,
know?
Red
Throttling
Dead
and
2
rocking
was
your
trying to be a
controller.
technical achievement a lot. You noticed that that's you could clearly see the focus for Red Dead 2 from the first one. They were clearly trying to be like they're trying to show like that technical jump that they've mastered with the next gen consoles. Noticed how everything was just so realistic. The way you get off the horse, the guns degrade after usage. Hunting.
Mhm.
The cooking of meat and all that. Like they literally went that type of route with Red Dead, and it did show. And for the most part, it paid off. But many people will say that game is a little too realistic, right? A lot of people say that for Red Dead 2 is a little too realistic.
Well, I just want, yeah, but I wanted to just, before we, because I don't want this to really turn into a Red Dead thing, because obviously we're talking about Death Stranding, and I just, because I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, because I think we're already half an hour on it. But Zemi Games, I want to get your final opinion on this, dude. They've showed some really strange things, and I think when you say strange for Death Stranding, it has it in spades. They showed Norman Reedus as obviously he's the main character. When you look at his crotch, he punches the camera. Now, I don't understand why that mechanic is in there, because I'm not interested in his crotch. Maybe some female gamers might be. That's fine. But I think that's weird. There's another one when he's licking the screen. I thought that was very strange. And someone just mentioned filler. I think the filler in this game is when you take off your shoes and rub your feet, or you're bathing in a mud pool with the baby swimming around. These are things that do not have a place in gaming. And that's just my personal opinion. I think it's ridiculous, and I think that these things are being added because the story that's going to be told is going to be very confusing, and the gameplay, which is of course what we all play games for, is going to be subpar at best. What are your opinions on what you've seen so far?
Sometimes you're really just like lost for words, but. I don't know. Like, part of me thinks that maybe Kojima just knows something that nobody else knows. Maybe this is his magnus opus. Maybe this is going to be a career-defining game. Maybe he literally is creating a brand new genre, and this is going to be like the biggest game that's ever released in all of gaming. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's probably just more likely a very misguided, very content lacking open world third person action adventure game. I don't really get it. I don't really get it. I don't know. One thing that is actually kind of bothering me though about like this entire thing, like everybody keeps calling this a walking simulator, and that really hurts me, because everyone's saying that it's a walking simulator, and like they're kind of somewhat saying it like in a bad light. And I think that is very I think that's a poor jab to great walking simulators.
That's a real good point, actually.
You know what I mean? Okay, like for instance, this game's not a walking simulator. You're driving a motorcycle. There is combat with you swinging your suitcase and shooting World War II people. I don't know what any of that has to do with a walking simulator. That's not a walking simulator.
I think there's also mechanics, dude, where your shoes wear out and there's like a foot rubbing mini game to get your blisters under control. Like, this is a walking simulator. You're balanced with each step, or you fall over and knock
mini game. I mean, it's great.
Bro, every step you can fall over.
There's too much interaction with like your character and the world. You're peeing on foliage to get it to grow. It's not a walking simulator, and I think it's a terrible thing. I mean, it's like throwing the walking simulator genre in the dirt. There's fantastic games
or
like
in the mud pool.
Esther, like Edith Finch. I mean, Gone Home, Firewatch. Those are walking simulators, and those are fantastic games. And calling this a walking simulator is killing the walking simulator genre. And it's
so you're basically saying that the walking simulator has been thrown under the bus thanks to Kojima, is what you're saying.
They are ruining a great genre. Now, I'm not saying that this game doesn't have maybe he's taking a little bit of like the magic that a walking simulator has and creating it in his new genre that's going to be, generation defining in his magnus opus.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not a walking simulator, and that really bothers me. I don't know about this game.
Well,
I just call it a Kojima thing. That's what it is.
I don't even know. I don't know when Stranding became fun.
I didn't know that Stranding was actually going to be a genre. When he tried to explain what Stranding is, look. All I can say is this, gentlemen. This game is. I understand that it's being heralded as it's a big PlayStation 4 exclusive. Let's not forget that it is an exclusive. It is the only big game that's coming out for Sony this year. So of course the fan base is going to hype it up. But even if you just are if you're the guy or gal that fly that emerald blue flag and you stake it in the ground and say, this is where I'm good. This is the only system I play on. Even the die-hardest of fans have to understand that this game has the potential to really, really bomb. Now, I'm not saying it's going to. Okay, what I'm saying is that every time we hear about it, it gets more confusing and more strange. And if you like strange, maybe this is the game for you. I just don't know. But I want to move on to the next topic. And you know what? We're going to keep with Sony because we just had a story break this week where Sony has confirmed Sunset Overdrive, the very, very famous Xbox One exclusive, is now owned by the PlayStation brand. And you know what? That is not so much the story of this particular topic. See, we kind of knew that, I think, because Insomniac, they own the rights to the IP, and Insomniac is now purchased by Sony World Interactive, and they're the owners of it. But in a story that I pulled from the pages of Push Square, Sony now owns Sunset Overdrive, no big surprise, right? But despite the game's first launching on the Xbox One as an exclusive, Insomniac Games famously retained the rights to the property. And obviously, since the purchase, like I just said, they own it. But speaking with the Japanese publication Inside Games, the Shohei Yoshida has confirmed that the Japanese giant does in fact own the Microsoft-published title. He said this: SIE holds the rights to past Insomniac game works. When asked, so what are the chances of a port? He responded with, I'm looking forward to future titles. And I'm going to say this, folks. I'm going to say this. If Sony is going to be remembered by anything, it's their willingness to win at any cost. And it's a market strategy that has worked for them. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I personally love the aggressive nature of Sony's marketing. It's why they dominated this generation. And I'm going to throw this out there to the panel. In my mind, rebooting the Sunset Overdrive series, for me, is a no-brainer. And Insomniac has a golden opportunity to recreate the franchise using the player feedback to their advantage that they got from all of the dissatisfied Xbox One gamers, especially when the character got on the floor. He was in molasses, right? The whole point of the game is never touching the floor, but a lot of us, you miss that mark to hit the wire to skate on or jump off a building. Maybe to me, this is a golden opportunity for them to reboot the franchise. And because they have the backing of Sony, because Sony is the kind of a company that gives their developers as much time as they need to make a game, maybe rebooting the series would be a good thing for Insomniac. But here's my question to the panel. Do you think that the Sunset Overdrive franchise is deserving of a reboot or /sequel? And I'm going to start with Noof Nukem on this. What are your thoughts on that, dude?
Well, oh boy. I mean, look, if they're picking up the IP, great, right? I mean, obviously, the game, as I mentioned before, was a critical success, despite the commercial
Sales.
shortcomings of the
Yeah.
game, right? And we all know that new IPs are a hard sell in this day and age. I really enjoyed the game personally. I don't know why more people did not enjoy Sunset Overdrive, especially considering Microsoft put it on Games with Gold for free a while back. So a lot of people were like, "Well, maybe I'll pick it up. Maybe I'll pick it up when it's cheap." And a lot, you know what? Even when it was free, a lot of people still avoided it, didn't play it. Mind you, like a lot of games these days, they come out, they're hot for a week or two, then they fly underneath the radar because there's like another big game coming along. So I think that's part of the problem with the industry too right now is that the time frame between big release windows is very, very short, and people with so many consoles and so many different games now between the indies and the big AAAs, it's not a slight on the game. Sometimes it's just nature of the beast. It's the way the business has progressed. But I think them picking up the IP is a great move regardless. But the thing is, even if they make a Sunset Overdrive 2, I'm not convinced it's going to be any bigger of a success than the original, simply because a lot of people said when Control came out and was a multi-plat that game was going to sell like barn burners, and especially it was going to sell a lot of copies on PS4. Well, guess what? Control is out. People have beat it. It's already pretty much either in the backlog or is dismissed and gone. It didn't light the world on fire. And so, again, I'm not convinced that Sunset Overdrive 2 would do much better than the original game. So, sure, there's a small portion of people that would like to have it come back. And I said last night on Salty's podcast, I said, you know what? If a sequel comes out, great. But at the same time, I'm not sitting here begging for one. If it comes out, great, and if it doesn't, I could really give a shit. It was that kind of game to me that it was good. It just didn't resonate. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Actually, you know what I mean. Listen, it's you said it critically. It did well. It scored well. It was different. It was what we had expected in an Insomniac game, but commercially, it didn't sell well. It didn't sell well at all. But I'm going to say this. You know, I want to go to Zemi Games next for the panel member on this. The game didn't sell well, but the one thing that Sony does that other companies don't is even when a game releases and it doesn't fly off the shelves like new IPs, they always seem to want to give the IP a second chance. And we saw this with Uncharted. When Uncharted 1 came out, it was a good game, but the shooting mechanics were not that great, and they still greenlit the sequel, which still, in my opinion, my favorite Uncharted is 2 of all of
Mine
the Uncharted. Of Uncharted 2 is my favorite, and it still
Same
is.
here.
And in your opinion, do you think that Sony understands that maybe because they have a very rabid fan base? And they do have 100, I mean, listen, they sold 100 million plus consoles in this generation. They're probably going to do the same with the PS5. And we're going to actually get to a story about that next that just broke. But do you think that they would greenlight a sequel or a reboot?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they could, and I think if they decide to take that route, the best thing for them to do, the smartest thing for them to do, would be do a port of Sunset Overdrive to the PlayStation 4,
right,
and see what the audience's reaction, is.
It's up to Microsoft, I think.
Well, maybe I don't know how like the whole publishing rights and all that different stuff is going to go.
When they asked him, could we see a remake? His answer was, I look forward to the future. Not yet. Like, that's a polite way of saying no.
Yeah. Well, see, another thing that I was also thinking about with that statement is, part of me kind of what I got from that statement was that they're really not interested in that franchise really at all, or at least not in like the foreseeable future. What they're more interested in doing is, like maybe possibly a second Spider-Man game, or possibly just a brand new IP all on its own. But, I think that it would definitely be, if they could possibly do it, like Shady said, I don't know how like the whole publishing rights would go, but if they could port over the game to PlayStation to see how the community feels about that before, spending millions on a on a sequel, I think that would probably be the smartest choice. But yeah, I'm not, and I mean, and the reason I say that is because it really was not a huge title on the Xbox One. I mean, I got it for free. I didn't even play it. I don't.
I was going to say that.
Bad or anything, but I got the game and I didn't even play it.
And I'm pretty sure Insomniac has those numbers too that reflect when it was free and when it wasn't. So I think they gotta gauge like the interest of it right there. And I think Sony has the information too to go along with that.
And I mean, even whenever it wasn't free, like the game just didn't really sell all that amazing just to begin with. So I don't know if it would be the most advantageous thing for Sony to just throw millions on a sequel without testing the market first.
No, that actually makes sense because obviously numbers are what matter, and they're not going to invest millions of dollars into a franchise that no one cares about. I want to get Shady's opinion, but before I do, I have to thank Drunk Ninja with the $2 super chat. He says, and I know this was on the last topic, I said it best, Norman Reedus fetish for Kojima. I don't know. I mean, they definitely seem like they're good buddies, but Shady, listen, I'm a big Sunset Overdrive fan, and of course, I'm probably in the minority here of wanting to see a sequel, and I've said this publicly on Twitter that at this point I don't care where it turns up, whether that be on the Xbox, which is not happening, or the PlayStation 4. I'm a day one buyer. But for you, what are your thoughts on the possibility of Sony actually doing something with the franchise that they now own?
Well, first off, as far as I'm aware, Microsoft still has publishing rights to a sequel for that game, which is why Insomniac previously was like, hey, Microsoft, we're looking for, to do one, because no one else is allowed, whether they own the IP or not. Insomniac owns the IP, but they can't self-publish it because Microsoft owns the publishing rights. So obviously Sony owns the IP because Insomniac did, and Sony now owns Insomniac. But I'm not sure they're even allowed to do anything with it for a while until either that ownership of the publishing rights expires, Microsoft hands it over, or sells it to them. Similar to with Alan Wake, I think it was. They controlled the publishing rights for Alan Wake.
Yep.
No matter how bad Remedy wants to maybe make a sequel, they couldn't without Microsoft. And Microsoft gave it back finally. It was like, here, have it. So I think that has to happen first. And let's pretend it does, and Sony can make one if they like. I doubt they will. I thought the game was decent at best. Like, it had some pretty graphics. I liked the customization. It was fun to swing from stuff and run across buildings. But I thought that the gunplay and walking around, any of it was not so good. It's not the most enjoyable to be, ripping along a building trying to shoot a bunch of enemies on the ground. I want to kill them. I want to land on the ground for a bit and have it feel good. And it didn't. I think it was okay. And then, lore-wise, story-wise, what do we got here? A company that makes an energy drink that turns people into weird zombies. End of story. That's it. It's not exactly compelling, deep, any of it. So it doesn't exactly match up with what Sony loves to do with their first-party stuff, which is tug at your emotional heartstrings, tell a really deep, cinematic-type story. That's not in Sunset Overdrive at all. So I don't think they're going to do anything really with it. It just kind of came with the purchase territory, and a website called Push Square, go figure, is trying to get, clicks off of this like it's actually news when it isn't. It came with the package, obviously. That's how it works.
Right.
Just like every single IP owned by the companies that Microsoft bought, Microsoft owns those now. Oh my God, shocker, everybody. That's just how it works. And this is a Sony site trying to prop up Sony for doing something that really just wasn't done, and I don't think they're going to do anything for it. They're not going to do anything with this franchise. Microsoft gave it away for free, included with gold, and it wasn't like all of a sudden the community was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I didn't know what I was missing. We didn't see any of that. The game was slept on. It didn't resonate generally with gamers. I don't think it's going to do it over there either. So for fans of the series, that's a bummer, but I just don't see it happening myself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Super G, before I go to you, I just want to say, Sir Galahad in the chat says, I would love another Ratchet and Clank. Yes, from what I understand, they're currently working on a reboot the same way they did Ratchet and Clank, the original, for 2. That's been in the works from what I understand, and I think we're going to be getting that soon, and I couldn't wait because I think Ratchet and Clank, the first one, the reboot, looked as good as a Pixar movie. But Super G, I understand that Push Square is obviously a Sony site, and they're trying to get clicks over there, and of course everybody wants traffic on their site, brings in revenue, but I just thought it was an interesting topic, simply because Sunset Overdrive Overdrive, when you talk about it, it does spark some heated conversation. Some people hate it. Some people absolutely love it, like myself, and some people are lukewarm about it. In your opinion, do you think that the comments based off by Yoshida indicate that they really have no intention of actually doing a sequel or even doing anything with the IP at all?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do anything with the IP. Honestly, it don't fit. Like you said, like someone said, it don't fit their mode. I mean, just look at the game; it's like cartoony and stuff like that. It don't really fit their mode of what they go for, man. They go for these big cinematic blockbuster, realism type stuff, and I don't think it fits their customer, their mode either. Like, I don't know, man. It wasn't it wasn't really that great of a game. I enjoyed it for what it was, but like there was much room for improvement. So if they do something, I'll be interested in it because I mean I play games everywhere, but I don't think so. Honestly, don't think so.
All right. I mean, listen. It's again. This isn't the topic that's going to blow up your skirt, but it's certainly. I thought it was interesting. BitCloud Gaming. You'd like to add something?
No, I'll just say I just think they're just doing it for like attention to their site, man, because they're the only ones that ran with that story, kind of. So I mean, I didn't see it really anywhere else. If it's something that has like legs, I think more people were reporting on it than
that's actually a good point.
Just one particular site.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. But BitCloud, I want to get your final opinion on before we move on to the next topic. What is your opinion on them actually doing anything with the franchise? And were you a fan of Sunset Overdrive?
Not really. I didn't really get into it, but I see you guys saying it doesn't fit Sony's criteria of games. Well, here's the thing. Sony is not necessarily just known for just, obviously the story-driven games. They're known for having a variety of games, NAC 2 and NAC 1 are not really, emotionally charged games, are they?
No.
Those are more like, Pixar movie quality, like, family games. Yes. And that's kind of what they could do with Sunset Overdrive. So, I mean, I could see them definitely using the game. It is what it is if they wanted to use it. Again, I don't see them dropping it. I can see them doing something good with it in the long run. But I don't know, man. It's a lot to take in with that game. As far as what did you say? Push Square? That's the name of the site?
Yes,
Using
Push Square.
Clicks?
Yes.
Windows Central does it, or Windows Centric does it as well. They always go for the little clicks. Wow, this game could do
cover Xbox and Microsoft specifically. Like that's what they do. Push Square does cover the video game industry, but they do skew PlayStation.
Yeah, it's like Microsoft. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look,
Windows Central wears it on its sleeve, big time.
Yes, they do.
Push Square, calling it Push Square. To be honest,
you'll have it. Yeah, you'll have it, on either side, they'll hype up whatever it is. And you see this every day, like even with next-gen console rumors. Oh, this one has this feature. This new processor could do this. So this console could have that. And it's like, can we just wait till we get confirmation before we start doing all this? Because all it does is create confusion, in the long run.
Confusing makes people spend money.
I mean, it's the clicks, though. Once they hear something crazy and something absurd, like, oh my God, this will do ray tracing at 8K. Hey, guys, let's report it. Somebody print. Yeah. So somebody would jump on board and
misdirection.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Misdirection.
That's great.
But the concept, what was it? Yeah, the concept behind Sunset Overdrive was pretty cheesy though too, right? It was
a little out there for sure, right? But it's what you expect with Insomniac. They just that's just their style.
Yeah, true. And that's where I think that the new partnership with them now, the creative freedom. That's one thing about Sony. You got to give them credit. They give complete creative freedom.
Yes, they do
to their developers. So for us to say that it would not happen, that's us being not truthful. It could happen with them. That's all up to. So all Sony's going to do is give you a check, and then you fill in the zeros what you need and get the game out there to be part of the library. And that's pretty much what it's going to be in the long run. Now, as far as the game coming out for PS4, they did say that they're not coming out with a port for PS4, and that's for obvious reasons. It's not going to happen, but it could happen for PS5. It could be a PS5 remaster, maybe.
Yeah.
If they were to start dropping games for it, that could happen.
But Microsoft still has control over Sunset Overdrive 1 being on their system with the publishing deal.
So
controls Sunset Overdrive 1 through their publishing deal, whether
For
it's
now,
Insomniac
I
or
mean,
Sony wants to,
yeah.
unless that can expire or it's given to them. I don't think it matters.
I think it's what it's going to wind up doing is
just
just expiring because they're no longer working with Microsoft, and Microsoft might just say, here you go, just take it back because we don't need it.
It's like the publishing deal might be forever for the first game, but it could expire for sequels or something. But I wouldn't be surprised if the first game never shows up as a remake.
Yeah, that's possible.
Only
Definitely
time
possible.
is going to tell. You know what? I want
knowing,
to.
oh, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, let's say like just knowing Insomniac, they have another project that is 5 times bigger at this point. And that's Spider-Man.
Yes, it's Spider-Man.
That's really going to be the main one that I believe is going to take up majority of their time, especially since we saw the special ending, and you already know what we saw in the ending, where that's leading to. So
right, but at this point, we don't even know if there's going to be a Spider-Man 2 because
that's going to happen.
No confirm for that at all.
We have
They don't. Sony don't own the rights to
Right.
Marvel does. Marvel
Yeah.
Interactive for video games actually owns the rights, and I've talked about this. I don't want to go too deep into it, but I will say in closing, we don't know if there's a Spider-Man 2, and the reason why I say that is because Marvel owns the video game rights for the character, unlike Sony owning
only has the cinematic
film.
rights.
That's right, the film rights. And
Two parent companies aren't getting along right now in the movieverse. If
that's right, so
they're not getting along at all. So it could affect the game, and they just have someone else make it, and it releases and sells 20 million as a multiplat. It's going to be big no matter who makes it, as long as there's quality involved. So
right.
We just don't know if it's going to be exclusive anymore, if it's going to be Insomniac. I think that's up in the air. Sony hasn't said squat.
No,
if
they have not.
If it was guaranteed,
they would have talked about it already.
They would. They would have been like screaming it.
Especially
so
after
I think
putting the numbers of like how many it sold and everything too.
15+ million on the PS4, and that's a big deal.
Do one, but they're not getting along so good in the background anymore. So it makes sense to Marvel just to find another developer, make sure that there's quality involved, release it as a multiplat, and go on to sell 20 million instead of 12.
Yeah,
that's what makes sense to me as a non-business guy.
Yep, especially they'll gauge how many sales that the Avengers game get, and then the interest will just rise from there.
Well, listen, it's Spider-Man. He's one of the most famous characters in the world. But I do want to move on to the next topic. But before I do, I have to thank Phil the Eagle for the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, "Everyone have a fantastic day and safe weekend. Gotta run. We'll catch the replay. #fun." Yeah, thanks for being here, dude. I really appreciate that. But in a story that just broke. I think it might have been just 2 days ago, or it might have been just a day ago. WCCFtech.com is reporting that the PlayStation 5 is going to have 2 SKUs, folks. That's right. There's going to be a standard PlayStation 5, and apparently, according to the article, there's going to be a PlayStation 5 Pro released at the same time. Now, according to Japanese journalist Zenji Nishika, I think I'm
Nishika.
Yeah,
Nishika.
yeah. I'm gonna ruin it, but I was gonna say Zenji N. He basically is a reporter in the Japanese press, and he's reporting that Sony is launching 2 different PlayStation 5 models next year, the base and the Pro model. According to the journalist, though, Sony has acknowledged the interest in a higher-end model and wants to give their player base choices of power right from the beginning of the generation. Now, this reminds me of the PlayStation 3 launch of 2006.
During the 20 and
during what turned out to be a complete disaster for Sony because of messaging and marketing, which they don't have a problem now. There were 2 models released. There was a 20 gig that was $500, and there was a 60 gig that was $600. Now, the story, of course, doesn't talk about the potential pricing of both consoles. And they do say in the story, this is only a rumor and should be treated as such. But I thought it'd be a great topic considering then when Microsoft talked about a 2 SKU approach, the internet went a little bananas and said that too many SKUs will confuse consumers. Okay? So Now, this is very interesting how the pricing will play out. There's no doubt about it. And if there's going to be a PS5 standard and a PS5 Pro, how much can Sony charge for the premium version? Is it going to be $499, $599, possibly higher? Well, I want to, you know what, BitCloud, I want to go to you first on this, though, because you were very vocal about the two SKUs that Microsoft was talking about, and then they backed away from it. And now, of course, now we're hearing, and again, this isn't a console war thing, folks. We're just reporting on what exactly happened. The PlayStation community, of course, jumped on, oh my God, two SKUs is ridiculous. It's outrageous. And now I'm starting to see some of the PlayStation community be like, you know what? This is great. This is a great way to let the players have the power, the choice of power, right from the beginning. What are your thoughts on this two SKU approach that was originally shunned upon, but now that Sony's in the mix, people are cheering this on?
Yeah, well, number one, keep the same energy, obviously, that's one thing. But to add on to it, you remember the reason why Microsoft had such a hard time at the start of that was because Microsoft had more than just one console under the umbrella, which was Scarlet. Remember that? It was Maverick, Anaconda, Lockhart, and then, of course, you already had the Xbox One S and X out on the market. So obviously, logically, everybody was looking at it from a consumer point, that's a lot of consoles out there on the market. So that's going to create a lot of confusion right off the bat. And Microsoft has not done a great job in terms of the names of their consoles.
No, they haven't.
They haven't done a good job. I mean, and that's common sense. That's not even a fanboy type of comment. Like, it's just common sense. I mean, you look at the 360 generation and you compare it to this one, you clearly knew the difference between an Xbox 360 and Elite and an Xbox 360 Slim. You knew the difference. Like, you knew which was what, This has been the main problem. As far as, Sony coming out with two consoles for this, I'm not necessarily super hyped for it at all. I know a few people who would probably pay more for the higher end model.
I would for sure. I would definitely do it.
My homie, I know Jay Fonz earlier. I talked to him all the time about this. Like I know he would buy the premium model if it could legit deliver what it was promised. And some people might look at this as their attempt or their way of giving you more, in the long run with the consoles. But all it does at the end of the day, I don't think it's just the right move. Two consoles. Nah, one console's enough, a simple price point. That's kind of the way it should be. Microsoft doing it again with two consoles. Remember how they were going to do one that was discless or streaming only? That was their thing. Again, you don't want to have so many consoles out there at the start. As far as the pricing of this, I could have sworn there was that thing going on with the tariffs, right?
Yes, the tariffs is still a thing.
And that was going to affect both consoles. So it's hard to really say what they could do, but I'm pretty sure the pricing would more likely be 500 max, right? I don't think they will go over 500. Sony would be stupid to go over 500. They don't want to repeat the same mistakes as PS3.
PS3 was a different regular console. If that's the case, they're going to drop a regular console at like 354.
It'd have to be $399.
Well, if they do that, right? That would
that's going to change the insides and make it a lot weaker, probably.
Mm-hmm. That would make it more like an upgraded Pro if you think about it, right? They would go for like a 350 for one design.
Right. I think that's the difference between what the rumors were with Xbox previous and the ones now with PlayStation. Was the rumors about Xbox was that Scarlet was a monster and the other console was cheap, inferior, affordable, it was a very affordable next gen console.
That's kind of what
this is. There's a PS5 and then there's a Pro. It doesn't. Nowhere have we heard a rumor that the PS5 is an affordable entry level next gen console anywhere at all.
I think premium experience. That's the key word.
That's right. So if this is the case, then the PS5 is their next gen console legit, and the Pro is just a jacked up version of that. What this tells me, if it's real, is that the PS5 is confirmed less powerful than Scarlet, and Sony really wants to have the power crown, at least as far as the media and marketing goes. So if they could have a $800 box on the market, that's the most powerful. If no one buys it, it doesn't matter because you can still say Sony has the most powerful box. But everyone owns the PS5.
The sad part about the Power Initiative, it won't, like, this is what Sony really doesn't need. It doesn't matter for Sony if they have it or not. They don't have the power like narrative right now. Xbox One X is the strongest platform right now, the console out there on the market. So they don't need my platform is strong, is the most powerful. They don't
The only
need
reason they don't
No.
need it as much is because the media is not hammering it as much. When Sony did have it,
Not really.
every
It's
single
always
game review,
been.
bro, every single review for every game was just like, but it only plays at half the resolution on Xbox. And
Well, yeah,
why would you pay the same money for the less resolution? That was in every single review.
Well,
Whereas
I mean,
since
you
the
got to
X
take into
came out,
account the
the
price.
media doesn't say it anymore. Once
Yeah,
the
but
X
you
is
have to
out, the
take into
media is
account
just like,
the
well, all of a
price
sudden,
of
yeah,
that,
now
though.
that's the narrative, right? Now it's
Yeah,
not power.
but
Now it's,
you got to take into account
well, if you
the
already have
price
this, it's
difference.
okay. They just downplay power because Xbox has it. When Sony had it, the media and everyone else made it sound like that was the reason to have a system that was called PlayStation was power. My God, if you don't have this, what are you doing? That was the narrative by everybody. And then the second Sony lost it,
look at the
all
situation.
of a sudden the media and everyone else was kind of like, power? Who was ever into that? No one cared. We don't need it. We have enough power. Like the narrative changed in a day when the X dropped. And that's because the X killed the power. It smokes the Pro across the board, basically on resolution. It usually has better frame rates with that higher resolution. Like it is a technically superior machine. And since it came out, the power narrative in the media, especially, has disappeared. It's not brought up ever, let alone every single game review you read, which it was before. So if the media was hammering that power button like they were at the beginning of this gen, Sony would very much need it back. But because it's been dropped, yeah, they don't really need it anymore. Games look great. It was never that important anyways. It comes down to how great the games are, not just how much power is in the box at the end of the day. We all know this, but
like I was saying earlier, the PlayStation 4, and if you look at the PS4 to the Xbox One X, right? Or even the Xbox One, really. Let's start with the gen, right? Xbox One to PS4, the price difference, and of course what you were getting. Xbox One was $500, and they weren't even doing 1080p at the start. Right. That's why the comparisons were so out the way, and you can't rub that. You can't just throw that under the rug like, oh, that wasn't the case. Games were running below 720p.
Was happening, but again, that was a time when
you look
resolution
at
was
the
made to look like
PlayStation
it was
4.
the be all and end all.
I'll let you finish. When you look at the PlayStation 4 was not only cheaper, but it was also more powerful.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that was the thing that you're missing as well. Yeah, it's true. The power narrative was a thing. In comparison videos, you can find those easy. They're
game review, dude. Ignorant IGN reviewers brought it up in every review.
Yeah,
that's how prevalent it was.
They're everywhere. You can't.
Like it wasn't
always
just
that's the start of a generation to get everything started. You always see that at the start of this gen. You'll see it as well. As soon as we get the first tech demo for PS5, you'll see a tech demo comparison between PS5's version to Scarlett's version. This is always going to be the case, but you gotta look at the basics as well. That price point, again, yeah, it's going to be appealing, but it's also what you get for that price point at the end of the day. If you're paying $500 and you're just getting 720p, and the competition is $100 cheaper, and they're offering you true 1080p with more games, I think it's pretty damn obvious, which person is going to choose.
And I don't think so at all.
Yeah, it is. Sony has games left and right. Plus, they had the higher resolution.
Not at the launch.
Throughout the game.
Of course, the resolution.
Now, if you look at it now,
if
you look at it now, well, when you look at the situation now, right? Sony doesn't have the power advantage, but one thing they do have
they have the first party advantage
in the library. They got that library. So again, this is why I said at the start of this gen or the start of the next gen, it won't really matter what happens when it comes to the resolution game. It won't matter at all. What you see is basically what you get with the next gen consoles. Because let's be real here, it's not going to be like a PS2 jump to PS3 jump going into next gen.
No, it's going to be a much
it's
more
not going to be like that.
Yeah,
what you're going to get from next gen compared to this one is a more refined image, a more detail in that particular regard. You're going to get mirror reflections, which we kind of saw with Square Enix new demo. You guys remember that? Square Enix really showed off the potential of the upgrades, and that's really what they're pushing. They're really prioritizing that with ray tracing, mirror imaging.
power is only important to a very small percentage of the gaming population. Price is paramount for most people. And as far as like showing off the tech demonstrations, the media obviously still prefers PlayStation, no matter if Xbox One X is the most powerful console on the market at the moment. Because every time I see IGN or any of these major sites, whenever they run a game, like even Outer Worlds right now, which technically you think they'd be showing that game off on Xbox platform, considering that Microsoft just bought out Obsidian, they're still running the demos and the stuff off of the PlayStation. So PlayStation is the media darling. That's their preferred choice. They go there 9 chances out of 10. I rarely see, and when it's multi-plat, if they don't do it on PlayStation, it's running on PC.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, Noof, real quick.
That's the 360 generation. Think about it. Like, it's pretty much a rehash of 360 generation. Like, remember 360 had everything.
Yeah.
It wasn't running on the 360. It was like,
well,
who cares?
They had everything too, because so many games had a problem running on the PlayStation 3, bro. PlayStation 3 was like the infrastructure.
The cell technology in the PlayStation 3 was an abomination.
Running on it. It took forever to port those games.
Games were broke, man.
Skyrim took forever to port those games to PS3. And it was hard to develop for. It was games took forever to port.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's going to be interesting because obviously, we discussed, the tariffs have the potential to put a real damper on this. It could be why Microsoft, took their foot off the gas with the 2 SKU thing, because they saw this coming, and we don't necessarily know if these tariffs are going to really damage potential sales, because these consoles, if a base console, the next gen console, it's going to be very powerful. We all know that. You can basically take it to the bank that the PS5 and the Xbox Scarlet are going to be significantly powerful, more powerful than the current family members in each of the each of the companies stable. And if they're going to launch at $499, let's say $500 per. Right, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to add tariffs to that. You're adding possibly another $60. These consoles could be, at current standard, $550, $600 with these tariffs.
That's going to be a given, especially with this whole tariff junk and everything. They don't want to sell. Neither side wants to sell this console for a loss.
Of course not. Yes, of
Sony
course.
can't afford.
Sony can't afford to do it. That is for definitely sure.
Microsoft, obviously more likely, but you have to ask yourself this too, in terms of like marketing wise, would that be smart to go all out with a next gen console, right? And just sell it, let's say $50 at a loss, $100 at a loss. Is that smart? Business wise?
No, that's not good business.
That's smart business wise, especially when you look at the software perspective.
Everywhere.
It's not smart
for Microsoft, period, because they're pushing Game Pass.
Exactly. You got to look at the situation with the studios and just the overall focus in general with the content, right? Everything's streaming and service focus. So it would not be smart at all for you to just sell that at a serious loss and then go, yeah, we got Game Pass. Hey, don't worry, we're good. $2. You can play this whole library. Nah, that's not going to. That's not going to come out.
It don't look good, but Game Pass don't look good either. So I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. That them doing that, because in the end they're just looking to get more people in their infrastructure. So if it actually costs them to do that, to go the cheaper route and lose,
True.
I think they will do it just to get more people in their ecosystem.
Well, let's be a little realistic here. Yeah, let's be a little realistic here, though. What has been Microsoft's kind of their attitude as of late? They don't necessarily care where you game. Yeah, they don't necessarily care where you game. It's kind of like, if you're on PC, you're on PC. We will support you all out, And you see that with Gears 5. This is the start of the, of everything with all their first party with Gears 5. You see this with Gears 5. Mm-hmm. So obviously they don't care where you're at. All they care about is you being in the infrastructure, like you in the ecosystem. That's what they want. So I don't know. It's hard to say that they would really put that amount of effort into the next console.
Well, I'm going to say this: whatever Sony is going to do, it's going to be very interesting. Noof, I heard you talk about. You said, I believe it was on Salty's show, that you yourself really were not necessarily going to buy the next generation consoles because you've spent so much already on the consoles you currently own this generation. If Sony is going to be releasing a 2 SKU, attempt, would you be would you be going for the base model, or would you spend the extra $100 to get the Pro version, so you wouldn't have to, reinvest in the in the platform later on?
That's a tough question to answer at this point in time because one, I don't know what the price is, and I
Right.
don't know if theoretically they come out with a second console, like a Pro version, what sort of upgrade it's going to give me over the base model PS5, which at this point in time I would have to assume is going to be one hell of a beast of a machine.
It is.
Yeah, like, so what are we looking at here at this point? I mean, I think the majority of us in this gaming community already expect the next wave of consoles to pretty much be hitting the 4K 60 plateau. At least I'd like to think that 80 to 90% of the games coming out for the next generation of systems will definitely hit those targets, or they'll be trying to hit them as much as they can. So then what the hell would it say a PS4 Pro 5 offer over that really needs me to commit? I mean, I'm not going to go out and run out and buy a $10,000 8K television, and I don't think anybody else is. So what is it? At the end of the day, it's proof is in the pudding, and it's all about the games. And if it was never about games to begin with, look, the Nintendo Switch would be dead on arrival already. Nintendo Switch sells because it's a decent entry-level price point, and it has great games that you can only play on Switch.
Yes,
so
great point.
the theory still applies. Power is great. I mean, look, after having the X for so long now, it is freaking hard for me to go back and play on the S because I can see the difference. I can see the difference performance-wise. I can see it from a resolution. I can even see it from the backwards compatible titles, which actually look phenomenally better for most cases, running natively out of the box on that hardware. It's insane. So, I'm excited for the next gen. I think for either company at this point in time of the game, that 2 SKUs is a very unnecessary. I think the whole Xbox with that digital sad ass piece of crap should have burned that at the stake. Who the hell even needs that thing? Well, you just a cheap entry level price point. I bet you half the people that bought that got home and went, "Oh shit, there's no disk drive in this thing," and because it's not super clear, and I haven't even seen a lot of promotion from it since they relaunched. It was like the first week it came, it was like, hey, the sad edition, and now all of a sudden it's just like I don't see nobody talking about it. All I see is everything with Microsoft is Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. I mean, I got so much Game Pass on my fucking face now. I'm surprised I don't have nightmares. It's everywhere. And I get why they do it. They're trying to get mass market penetration. And good for them. It's working. People are fucking buying in hook, line, and sinker. But that's just the way things are going. That's the way Microsoft is transitioning. You either like it or you don't. Whatever. It's up to you. I'm excited for the next gen. I'm going to leave it at that. I think either company, both, unnecessary to confuse the market with for 2 new consoles either way, and just confusing. Just try to get the best tech you can for the best price you can. If people want it, they're going to buy it day one, whether it's $600 or $700. And if you can't afford it, well, you know what? You still got a few damn good years left on the Xbox One or the Xbox One X or the PS4 Pro. Like it's not like we're out of date completely. You know what I mean? So
right, no, absolutely, that's a great point.
For a while.
That's a great point.
That's why I didn't buy it.
Kind of makes you look at that dev kit design that we saw.
I hope that's not what it looks like. That would be disgusting.
I hope it doesn't look like that. But you notice one thing you got to take into consideration with that design. This is what I was telling everybody to do as well. Obviously, it's not going to look like that. That's not the final look. That's just a prototype. Yeah, I remember when the PS4 dev kits looked like a VCR. And the controller was weird.
That new one looks like an amp in the back of my buddy's Civic Power.
Yeah, it looks weird. Like they all look weird. That's not the final, obviously, design. But one thing I said take a look at was the amount of ventilation in that. Whatever they're doing with these next gen consoles, these things are going to be packing a lot of heat, and they're going to be producing a lot of heat. So it requires a lot of ventilation. So I just say, take note of that, that particular thing. Whatever they're doing, they're trying to compact it very, very heavily with this next gen.
Well, look, I don't know. I don't know which way they're.
I think they're just trying to keep the size down. They were trying to keep the size down too, because
they got to compact it because they're
compared to the X, the Pro's huge. Like,
oh yeah,
so they want to possibly go with a little smaller, sleek look too.
Well,
Yeah.
You
You
know,
guys, you
low
guys have
pop.
the thing that the
But
biggest
then
thing that
too,
I'm excited
like,
for next gen is the minimal load times.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the
that's
biggest
crazy.
upgrade. Like I said, like I'm not expecting much. Like, yeah, you guys are obviously I think it was Noof. He said 4K 60. I think yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense. You know, that will be mastered at this point, 4K 60 for next gen. They did say
Yeah, you would think.
performance was the main key, right? For next gen, right? That was the main focus for both sides, performance. So since performance is the main key, obviously we're gonna have that, you know, with the faster load times, then that's the big upgrade I can really, you know, really jump out my seat and cheer for. You know, no load times, my games instantly launch when I play them, you know, all that. The fact that you know, 4K and whatnot, I just don't see 4K really being the, or hell, not even 8K should be the main topic at all with next gen. I just don't. You know,
well,
I
I
like
want to go to
I
the
think
guys.
4K
I just
is
want to. I want to
the
get Zemi's
talking
hold
point.
on,
Go
dude.
ahead.
I want to grab Zemi's
you know
opinion
what?
on this before we move on
Ginger?
to the next topic. Zemi, you know, a two skew attempt by Sony could possibly confuse gamers. I personally don't see how it would be because I'm a gamer. I think everybody on this panel is a gamer. Everyone in the chat's a gamer. So we understand one is going to play better than the other. In your opinion, do you think this is a move that Sony should do?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think it's consumer friendly, and I think it's giving consumers, you know, choice. One thing I absolutely hate, and it's a big reason why I don't have the X, is, you know, the X came out 2 years after the X came out. We're looking at a brand new console generation. So I
Yes.
spent $500 on a brand new console that I'm then going to pretty much replace in 2 more years. So if
I mean-
Sony comes out with a PlayStation 5 Pro, and that is their best console for all of the generation, then I think that that's an excellent move. However, if they come out with the PlayStation 5 Pro and then later on 2 years before next generation they come out with a Pro, then I don't really like that idea, and I think that that's probably what's might happen. But I do like the idea of giving, you know, consumer choice. I do like the idea. I think it's very pro consumer. I think it's a good choice by their side. I don't exactly know how well it's going to sell because, I mean, I think it's going to be hard to get the PlayStation 5 just base model if it has everything that, you know, we've heard it to have under $500. And if the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be that much better than the PlayStation 5, you know, I'm looking at possibly $700 is what I'm thinking or guessing at least, you know. So I don't know, and I don't think consumers are going to have enough money to do that, you know.
Now with two consoles launching in the same month,
exactly,
Yeah.
and all the games, and you know, another thing to look at as well is, you know, these tariffs. Yeah, they're still there, so that's going to, you know, influence the cost of these consoles as well. And, you know, I think power for consoles has a decent, you know, say, but I would say your average gamer, your casual gamer does not really care that much about power. They want to play the new games at the lowest cost that they can pay. That's all they care about.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so with them releasing two consoles, I think it's a pro consumer, you know, idea. I don't think it's going to give them a huge leap in next generation. Honestly, I think, you know, if you own a PlayStation 4 right now, you're probably going to buy the PlayStation 5. And if you own an Xbox right now, you're probably going to buy the next Xbox. I don't really see the lines really shifting anywhere. I think PlayStation is still going to probably have, you know, roughly the same percentage of consoles sold versus Xbox now. But yeah, so I don't really think it's going to really impact overall console sales or overall company success. I think but I do think it's a good, you know, solid choice from PlayStation, and yeah.
That makes sense. Super G, before we get out and move on to the next topic, you like to close out with anything?
Nah, I said kind of. Well, I was just chiming in while everybody else was commenting, so it's all good, man. I feel the same way. Just price is gonna play a huge factor in it, man. And I never. Oh, I will say that I believed in a two console SKU for Xbox anyway, bro, or for Microsoft, because I felt like when they were announcing it or when it was coming out and they were saying like the other one's gonna be like 1080p 60, I felt that was stupid because I mean the X can technically do 1080 60 already.
Yes,
So why would that?
yes, it's a great
So
point.
it's just like the X. I was like, nah, I don't believe that from the jump. But that's pretty much it, man.
Okay, well, listen, real quick, before we move on to the last topic, and this is a good one because we're going to be talking about the Outer Worlds, I have to give a couple of shout-outs. First of all, Suicide King with the $5 super chat. He says, I agree with Shady. This will get Sony the Power Crown, even at $900. If this happens, guaranteed the media will remember that power matters. And Sir X-Man, who's going to be a guest on the show and on one of the upcoming episodes on Primetime Gaming, drops a $5 super chat, and he says, all of these companies make that money on software and add-ons. As we all know, that's the truth. No, that's very true. They do make their money on that. And Gotham Guy drops an outstanding $5 super chat. He says, perhaps a 2 SKU move is to compete with the new Xbox and the cheaper Xbox One X. Now, that's a possibility as well because the X is still going to be a powerful system when these next consoles come out. So thanks so much for that comment, and of course the very generous super chat. But I want to talk about the Outer Worlds. They just showed off a recent 40-minute trailer, and apparently some big-time YouTubers already have gotten their review copies somehow. And Skill Up, who's a very, very famous YouTuber, if you're not subscribed, that's a great site. I mean, that Skill Up is like legit. He posted something on Twitter regarding the Outer Worlds, and this is what he had to say. He said, "Oh my OMG," and this is all caps. I want you to understand how excited he was. OMG, there's nothing I don't love about this game, in all caps, confirming the awesomeness of Obsidian's new title being released on October 25th. And the video that I sent to everybody in the DM accompanied the article that came from VGC, and the gameplay footage comes directly from the Tokyo Game Show that took place last week. And I gotta tell you, I watched the trailer twice, and my God, what Obsidian is doing with this game is completely unbelievable. And this really should rubber stamp Microsoft's purchase, making them a first-party game, because after the Outer Worlds 1 releases, they've already been talking about the franchise continuing. They have years and years of ideas, and they're going to make a sequel for this game. This is going to be one of the biggest RPGs released in 2019, and I'm going to say this. Having Obsidian as a first-party developer and having them put out their next game, The Outer Worlds, on PC, the PlayStation 4, and of course the Xbox One, when the next one comes out, and I say when because I believe we're going to get a sequel to this is not coming to the PlayStation brand. This is going to be on PC and, of course, the next Xbox. And if you don't have a capable PC, because a lot of people don't, to run a massive game like this, you're going to have to go out and buy an Xbox. And, I want to start with Super G on this. What are your thoughts on the trailer, and how incredibly excited are you for Obsidian's next big RPG?
Dude, I was man. That game looks fantastic, dude. I can't wait for it. I'm a big Obsidian fan, and to know that like the next game is gonna be that great, because I love Fallout New Vegas. Like to this day, that's
still my favorite of them all. I agree.
Yeah, I didn't really care for 4. Like 4 was cool, but it wasn't New Vegas, man. New Vegas was that game for me. Like on the 360, I spent so many hours playing that game, and to see this game and then like the whole like exploration with like the planets and stuff, bro. Like I'm all for it. I love like just outer space. I love that whole scene, So like this game just looks just brilliant, and it's crazy that they are a Microsoft owned company now. Like that's pretty dope for them, and it was well worth the purchase. That's similar. I think I actually think the Obsidian acquisition is actually bigger than the Insomniac for PlayStation.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and like this game's gonna be a big game, man. It's gonna be a big game.
And we're getting it on Game Pass day and date, which is amazing. That's
crazy because
that saves me $60.
Right? It's crazy because like I do the whole Game Pass thing, but I end up still buying the games like with the Game Pass discount. So that still works out for me.
This is a game that you're going to be playing and you're going to want for sure. And there's no doubt that the Game Pass helps it with I think you save 20% off of the
It's
game.
20%.
So, that's pretty interesting. Anything else you'd like to close out with the Outer Worlds topic, my friend?
Nah, man, because you guys got a lot to say too, I believe. So I mean, we mostly kind of agree on the same stuff, dude. It's gonna be a big game. It's gonna be a fantastic game. It looks, and I just can't wait for it. Just can't come fast enough.
Nice. And I want to go right away to BitCloud Gaming. Now, I don't necessarily know how big of an RPG fan you are, but it seems as if that you've been playing games just as long as me. Are you excited based on the latest 40-minute trailer that Obsidian has put out there for everyone to enjoy?
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, I'm not really into this one. Obviously, this might not be a game I actually would be hyped for. Like I played, I'm familiar with RPG. Obviously, RPG games.
Right.
I played the Assassin's Creed. The new Assassin's Creed games are pretty much the same. They've done it like that. But after playing Gears 5. I can definitely say that this is, it's another title that they need, just something new to freshen stuff up, to add more variety to their library. And I would like to see, obviously, more from the studios like this. So this is good, though. It shows the quality, I guess you can say. It looks good. But, it's just not a game that I probably would be playing.
Now, let me ask you this. Because it's in Game Pass, and you don't necessarily have to spend the $60, is it a game that you would more likely try than pass on?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of Game Pass, right? It's kind of like Netflix. You might not want to. You probably wouldn't pay so much as $10 for half the movies you see on Netflix, right? Like Apple. But best believe it gets recommended to you, and you see that little percentage. Hey, did you know that 99% of the people who watch the Avengers love this movie? You might try it. You might watch it. So it definitely increases that possibility of you actually watching it or playing it for sure. So, I think Game Pass definitely would help it in that regards for sure.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, at least you're going to give it a shot.
Yeah, definitely. I got the rig, so it's possible.
So, Shady, I want to get your opinion next on this. Now, you are a big RPG person. You also are a gamer who really enjoys looking through every nook and cranny. Like, you'll spend hours looking at a game that some people might just completely blow by. From what you've seen, is the Outer Worlds a day one playing or purchase for you?
Most definitely, because it's already included in Game Pass, man. It's part of a service I'm into for the next 3 years, so the barrier of entry is very low. I will be playing it. Not to mention, I do enjoy these type of games. I love science fiction, and I love big open worlds that I can explore and kind of do my own thing in. That's what I did in the Fallouts. The game wanted you to walk into Megaton as soon as you came out of that vault in Fallout 3. That's the last place I'm going. It's like, oh, you want me to go there? Right, because it's just a big landmark as soon as you come out of the vault. My brother and I turned around and went the other direction. And that's how I play my open world games. It's like, if the story is left, I'm going right for as long as I can, man. I don't want to engage in a story as much as I want to just have my own fun. And these games deliver that stuff. I think it's really pretty. The colors are exploding off the screen when I'm watching these trailers. It looks great. And what's really important to me is the moment-to-moment, like gunplay and melee and using the abilities and stuff looks good. It doesn't look stiff and janky and just functional.
It looks next gen. It really does.
That's right. Like the VAT system in Fallout was there because it needed to be there on console. It had to, man. It played like ass. Let's be real here. The actual gunplay in those Fallout games was terrible. You needed VATs to slow the world down to nothing so you could click on his head and actually get a headshot. What I like about this Outer Worlds is that it looks like it's actually playing like a very competent moment-to-moment shooter. And I like that a lot. That is a big thing I don't like about RPGs. Oh, it's a big RPG, so it can play not so good. Hell no. The game has to play great in my books in order for it to be a great game. So I think this is going to deliver big time, man. It's on all fronts for me. The color is there, the sci-fi is there, the open world exploration is there, and it's extremely low barrier to entry with Game Pass. So I'm all over this, man.
Nice, definitely nice. Noof Nukem, before I get to you, I just have to thank two people real quick. Chaos Theory with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, all I got to say is Gearbox has to fix Borderlands 3 because Outer Worlds looks fire. And I hope that Borderlands, by the time I get my hands on it, is in fact fixed. Sir X-Man with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, I'm a bit partial gamer, but having this game for free in PlayStation. Wait, let me start over. I'm a bit partial gamer, but having this game for free in PlayStation players having to pay for it, I can feel the complaint coming from Game Pass. Yeah, I mean, listen, I put it this way again. I'm a multi-console supporter. And so I mean, even if this was, I wouldn't play it on PlayStation, even if I didn't have Game Pass, because I prefer playing on the Xbox. But having Game Pass, well, that's an advantage, and I think that's what Microsoft is looking for when you talk about the service. Because obviously, if you're a PlayStation player, you're going to have to spend $65.01 with tax. If you're an Xbox player and you have Game Pass, well, you just paid your, $10 or $15, and it's in there for you to enjoy the same.
Or is it like to say you're $1 or $2, right?
You're $1 or $2. Yeah, that's a great point. But I don't know. I mean, it's where I'm going to be playing it, and not just because I have Game Pass, because I prefer Xbox. But Noof Nukem, you see, now this is I bring this right back to you because you don't have Xbox Game Pass, and you are a physical disc buyer still. From what you've seen in the Outer Worlds, is it going to be a day one purchase for you?
Nope.
Okay. Listen, that's okay.
I haven't seen
He's silent. No.
No. It's not a day one purchase. It's maybe a down the road. We'll see. I'll basically watch a few people playing. I haven't really seen enough of the game. I haven't even been like that invested in it since it was announced and came out. It's not a title that's sort of blowing my the dome off of things here for me. So yeah, and again, it's another RPG, and RPGs I'm very on the fence with these days, just because again the length of a lot of these games, the amount of commitment it takes to put into them. So it's a game that's on the radar for me, but it's not a day one. I like I said, I need to see more. I want to find out more about it. I don't have Game Pass, so obviously. Like I said, I have to be a little bit more selective about where I throw my $60 bills, that sort of thing. So that's all I'm going to say on it for now.
And this is like a 20-hour campaign, Noof. So for the lengthwise, this is pretty perfect. I'm with you on games lasting too long, man. 300 hours, hey, that's cool for the guys that love it and only want to play that one game. I try and play everything, so I like them to be, consumable. And hours for an RPG, if you're doing the story, that's cool. But if people want to, take their time and explore and go in the world, there's a lot more stuff. That's fine. But yeah, I've heard this one's kind of cut down. It's not monstrous like Witcher status, so it might be up your alley on that regards, man.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think that I don't know. It depends. Like an Alien Isolation. From how long that was.
That's too long.
That was way. Yeah, that was a game that was too long. I would definitely agree with that.
It was like a movie and a half.
Jeez. It might have been almost 2 movies.
Just running away from a friggin' alien and hiding.
It was the backtracking that made that game super long too. You notice that? Like you had to literally go back to numerous areas.
Yeah,
there's something to be said about a nice, tight 10-hour experience.
It wasn't even that great either. So
I think it's hard though. It's getting hard for developers to press that into a good amount of hours, to where you would think it's like the perfect.
I think 15 hours for me. If you buy a game for $60 and you get a good solid 15 to 20 hours, I think that you're getting your money's worth. Especially when you compare what it costs to go to the movies and seeing a 2-hour flick. You know what I'm saying? So, you go see 3 movies at $60, especially if you go to the IMAX, right? It's like $21.50. And you buy a game, you get your 15 or 20 hours worth of play into that game. And even if they don't support it with post-launch content, you're still getting that 15 to 20 hours as opposed to you going to see 3 films that could equate to, 10 to 11 hours. So you're still getting your in my opinion anyway, you're getting your money's worth. But Zemi, I want to go to you just to close out not only today's show, which was amazing, but the topic. I think I'm pretty sure it's safe to say you're excited for the Outer Worlds. Is it going to be something you're playing when it comes out in October?
See, that's a toughie. That's a hard toughie right there. Call of Duty. It comes out on the
Yes,
same exact
same
day.
day,
Like, why?
absolutely.
Why are these developers doing this to me? So I don't know if I'm going to play it day one.
You played the beta, bro?
Yes. Oh my god. I
The new
absolutely
beta,
love
the
it.
new one, the one that's like legit, the modes.
Yeah, like the beta that's out right now. Like for Modern
Yeah,
Warfare.
with the headquarters and everything. I don't know.
I like it. No, I really do. I think that
Man,
maybe one or
I'm
two more
guilty. I'm literally
bullets
playing it
need to
right
be
now.
added to kill
I can
somebody.
fire it up right now too. I just like,
But I really, really like it. I do. And so I don't really know. The Outer Worlds looks absolutely phenomenal. It's basically everything I look for in an RPG. It is uncanny how much the game reminds me of Fallout. Like how Bethesda,
well, I mean, it's the
even
original
Fallout
designers,
4,
of course.
with how like you pick up your loot, how like the character models look and stuff. I mean, even the gameplay looks like pretty close to Fallout 4 in my opinion. I can't wait to play it. I don't know if I'm going to play it day one. Like I said,
I think it looks way better than Fallout 4.
yeah.
I don't know.
Like
I mean, from what I saw from the gameplay, it looks very similar.
Yeah, it's very, very
For
similar.
that
Yeah.
tedious like
and for
house
me-
building city crap.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think the game's going to have any of that. I'm talking about the combat. I mean, obviously, there's going to be other gameplay features like included in the Outer Worlds that is not in like the in Fallout. But like the melee combat, for instance, looks pretty much identical to Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I'm just going to be honest with you. It really does not look like anything that amazing. No. It does. I'm telling you. Go look at a side by side of Elder Scrolls Oblivion or Morrowind combat, like melee combat. How how it looks and everything, and then go look at the Outer Worlds. It looks pretty much identical. That doesn't bother me.
It looks like though when I swing, I'm going to hit something in Outer Worlds, where Skyrim and stuff. That was the worst melee I've almost ever. That's why I didn't get into those games. The melee was abhorrent, brutal.
I don't know. That's just what I got from
like it
looking
had
at
weight
the
to
gameplay.
it.
Yeah, I mean that's just what I got from looking at the gameplay. But I'm super excited about about the game.
Well, listen, all I'm going to say is this. First of all, I want to thank everybody on the panel for being here. We're already 2 hours and 10 minutes into this show. It has been fire from start to finish. I want to thank the nearly 125 people watching the show live. And of course, I have to publicly thank everyone that donated for the super chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for the generosity. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. The chat, of course, was amazing. It didn't seem like we had any trolls. I've been, I try to read the chat and make sure, to police it when I don't have any modders in there. And it looked like this was a pretty good one. But I want to get to the outros, and I want to go to Super G first. First of all, dude, thanks so much for being here. It was a blast to have you back on Breakfast with Boom. And I, of course, enjoyed your opinions on all the topics we talked about today. Please tell everyone where they can follow you, but more importantly, listen to you on other shows.
Yes, you can follow me on Super G on Twitter, and you can find me every Saturday morning on the Smash Podcast, which is pretty much like any nerdum. We're all into anime, comics, just that whole thing, man. Just come through, show your support, and thanks again, Boom, for the invite, man. I appreciate it every time I get to come. I hope this ain't my last time coming.
No, certainly not, dude. We're gonna. Everyone that comes onto this show is family, guys, so. You're always going to be welcome here, my brother. Thank you so much again. And yeah, if you get out there, follow him and check out the shows that he's on, because he does have a lot to say, and he is a quality community member. And I want to go to the newest member of Breakfast with Boom, and of course that is BitCloud Gaming. First of all, thanks for accepting the invite to join the Breakfast with Boom family, but more importantly, I truly enjoy the way that you're passionate about gaming and the way you discuss it. Tell everyone where they can follow you, but more importantly, check out your other works.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invite to the show. I was shocked to get that, so thank you. I'm glad you appreciate what I do, so I do thank you for that. It was awesome as always to be here. Shout out to everybody who came through for the show, obviously the panel. You guys can find me on Twitter at the same name, BitCloud Gaming, and you can find me on my YouTube channel at BitCloud Gaming as well. We'll be live at 5 p.m. today for the RGT podcast. Nice. We're officially back on our normal time, so Fridays, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, RGT. So definitely come through, talk some gaming as well. And yeah, we have a lot to talk about later on today. And hopefully I'll see some of you there.
No, but definitely. Well, listen, it's great to have you on as a regular panel member, and like get out there and watch that show. That goes live 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 p.m. Eastern. So everyone get over there and show your support there. And of course, Noof Nukem, thank you so much for being here again. And of course, I just happened to get lucky and you were off today. So thank you for taking the time on your day off to hang out with us. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter. And of course, check out your nighttime show, which is very raunchy, very adult, but also very awesome.
Well, it's not that bad. But first of all, Boom, thanks for having me on the show today. I had a blast. The panel was fantastic. Big shout out to BitCloud, to So Shady, Super G, Zemi Games, guys, for bringing it today. Always good to be here. I do apologize for my sort of volatile start to the show. My rant, I must have broke up on the wrong side of the bed. So I do apologize for that. I know you run a different ship than me, Boom.
That's okay.
Try to keep it as PG as I can when I get on your show. But as he was referring to, yes, I do a little podcast, which I've moved over to Mixer. It's basically streaming a game, but we're kind of doing podcast content at the same time. So it's on Mixer, Noof Nukem. So it's mixer.com/Noof Nukem if you're trying to check it out. And I'm there with Primal Eve. So we're playing some games. Last week we played some Gears 5. It was the two of us, and as well as Wilmy Hood was in the chat, and Crispy Bomb. And of course, some other people like Salty came out to play with us as well. So that's a great thing, right? You talk games, but we're playing games at the same time. You can check it out Tuesday nights. But outside of that, man, you'll always find me in the gutter on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. Wherever there's a great game, you will find the man of shame. Yes, Noof Nukem. All right, we'll catch you guys later.
Thanks for being here, and you are certainly not the man of shame. You bring it every time, and I do appreciate that. Zemi Games, I gotta talk to you, dude, because listen, folks, if you like me and you respect and appreciate my opinion, I say please, for the love of Jehovah, get over there and give this dude a follow. His Twitter numbers are abysmal, and he's a good dude. Like, the guy is a great talker. He's a great community member. Please get out there and follow him. But Zemi, do me a favor, please let everyone know about your other amazing channels that you have going on at YouTube.
Absolutely, Boom. Thank you so much. If you guys want to, you can follow me on Twitter at Zemi Games. You can also go and check out my YouTube channel by searching Zemi Games in the search bar as well. Boom, thank you so much for setting up this another fantastic show, as always. So thank you, man.
Well, it's great having you on every week. Really enjoy our funny banter, especially when we talk about the scary games. It's always a lot of fun. And lastly, and in no way least, making his last appearance for a couple of weeks, because he's, of course, going under the knife, like you talked about in the opening of the show, is my very good friend, all the way from Canada. So Shady. Listen, Shady, obviously, you broke the 100 mark on YouTube for subs, and you have no channel content, which is amazing. So once you start getting some stuff up there, I can guarantee your channel's going to explode. But do me a favor, you're very vocal, you're very funny, and you're very interesting to follow on Twitter. Tell everyone where they can do that.
Thanks, Boom. Like you said, this is my last podcast altogether, actually, for at least 3, maybe 4 weeks. I am having some minor surgery. Like you said, I live in Canada, the same place they made Wolverine. I'm getting adamantium grafted to my skeleton. At least in my mind, that's what it is. It's not quite so fantastical, but it's something that's got to get taken care of. It's been bugging me for a long time. Either way, I'm kind of looking forward to it a bit. I'm going to be high as a giraffe's ass on some medically delicious painkillers, some of the best around the world, I've been told, because the healing, I guess, is some rough stuff. So, hey, but I love talking games with you guys. Thank you so much for having me on your show, both on Fridays and Monday nights. I look forward to coming back and doing it again on both shows. So thank you, Boom. I am So Shady at the Sesh Empire, one word, on Twitter. Give me a follow, man, if you want to talk games. That's generally what I'm doing. I like to joke around. I poke fun at some trolls. I drop some knowledge bombs on people. Just having an all-around good time, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of a shtick. We're not taking anything too serious over there. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Enjoy your weekend. Happy gaming.
Yep, and that's going to close out today's show. I hope everyone had a 2+ hour fun day with this particular show. A lot of great topics. Of course, the panel was phenomenal. And of course, you have to tip my cap once again to the outstanding community that comes out each and every week to support Double Barrel Gaming. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Have fun gaming. And we'll see you next week on the next episode of Double Barrel Gaming, of Breakfast with Boom. Take care, everyone.